at 4:30. I went to the
All
gym.
right, we're on the air.
Oh, hello, everyone.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. It was an exciting story about me getting up early and going to the gym.
Great time. You went to the gym this morning?
Yep.
Wow.
I made it.
Yeah, me too.
Nope.
Nope.
Lies.
No, but I had a great time last night with some people that I met in Charlotte.
I don't know anyone there.
Yeah.
People in Charlotte?
Dr. Steph and Mike, her dad. Okay, Let me see. Let me find the chat.
Oh, I guess I should stop the... There.
Oh, it's over there, that screen. Wait a minute, that's still the live PTUK. And I think there's still things going on that one too. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, pop out to chat. Pop out to chat. There we go. And now move it over here to the screen. And put it right there.
Off you get. Good.
But Rugger.
You know you want to go in there. You know you don't want to, but sorry. All right, just starting here. Where do you come to?
Jilly.
Okay, there you go. Good guys.
So guess what's going on in Nick's house right now?
Who knows?
Slamming.
Have you noticed that sign has been askew
yes,
for several episodes?
All right, ready whenever
he clearly...
It's emblematic of our show.
Yeah, well.
I'll be right back. Gonna get a beer.
I just got myself one.
Did you?
For 30 minutes time. It's sitting there here in a nice...
Oh, it's ready to go.
It's ready to go.
Waiting.
Yeah, waiting for that moment. All right.
I can't fall asleep yet. I need to wake up.
Oh, you have a nice trip on the airplane. Ha 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 ha.
Oh, I will. I'm going to be asleep. So.
I'm trying to work out why the hell I haven't been called out for at least one trip. This is ridiculous.
It's really bizarre.
I think you're on that list of pilots that they don't use unless they just absolutely have to.
Yeah, I think that's a great list to be on. I think there's a lot of pilots that like to be on that list.
Yeah, how much do I
don't
have to
call
do
me
to
unless you absolutely have to.
Not enough to lose my job.
Exactly right. Yep.
It's a fine line.
Yeah, very true. Which I have so far managed to tread very well.
Excellent. Okay, let's see. There we go. Here is to all of you out there in APG
green
land.
egg. Cheers. What kind of brand is that?
Cheers.
It's
looks like
the
a Highline.
Highline, but I have it in a big green egg koozie.
Very good.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Ah, boy, that tastes good.
All right.
But you're heading out. Oh, well, we'll talk about it on the show.
It could have been refreshing, but it's water.
That's refreshing.
It is refreshing.
Okay, let me turn that speakers off. There we go. Just so we don't get any interference. Okay, now I'm gonna definitely have to check a couple things here because I quickly had to put everything back together coming home here. So, oh, that's too loud. Wait a minute, that's the wrong one. Yeah, so this is kind of an impromptu thing, folks. I happen to be here. Got back from a trip early this morning. Nick is still there, not called out on a trip, and Steph is available for a short window. And Dana, unfortunately, is flying to Denver and back, I think, so he couldn't make it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but just decided, what the heck, let's go for it.
Love it.
Okay, need to see about the sound of this. Okay. Oh, interesting.
Got that my BFR had expired, and I might have done something that's a bit naughty. So I can't take pride, but I'm going to have to do lots of practice now. So sorry, Glenn.
Okay. You heard that, right?
Yep.
Okay, good.
So like someone having a lot more fun than I am.
Sounds like a busy place. And
Sounds like a bar.
Yes. Sounded
like a
nice.
restaurant.
Sounded like somewhere I should be.
okay, almost. Hang on.
Yeah,
Just
we could
remember
all
something.
be out
Yeah,
somewhere right now.
we could all be there together, drinking
I know.
and chatting.
Together
Yeah.
right now. Over me.
More Beatles.
Shoot me. For the longest time, I thought it was just like just a sound effect, but not.
Oh, it's not?
No, they're saying shoot me.
Oh.
I had no
Yeah,
idea.
yeah, look up the lyrics for Come Together.
Okay.
I went, what?
Learn something new
I thought,
every day.
no way. And then I was talking to my son about it. He goes, yeah, Dad. Duh.
Duh.
Didn't you know that?
That's right.
Duh.
That's the great thing about being a parent. You learn how stupid you are.
That's a good point.
Remind me never to have children. I will always be smarter than my dog. Sometimes. Most of the time.
Yeah. Well, that's what the dog allows you to think.
Right.
That's right.
You don't know what he's
Well, at least they
saying
can't
to other
talk back.
dogs behind
And,
your back.
you know.
Okay, I'm logging in to my other device so that I can play the stuff.
How's your tooth, Nick?
So.
Did you? Oh, you got it work done today?
No. I got some antibiotics. I can't get to see my dentist for about 10 days or so. So I'm just hoping that will keep it quiet until then.
Okay. Let's see.
It's not nice saying you've got rotting matter inside your jawbone. Not very funny.
No. Well, my dentist visit was very pleasant yesterday.
All right.
I said hi and bye.
Oh, good. I mean, I've got a fascinating dentist. He's a lovely bloke. He used to be a I don't know quite what you call him. One of those British cyclists that competes going around a velodrome and things. And he won a Commonwealth medal. This is quite a few years back now. But he's a fascinating bloke. Always keeps himself very fit. Has a very nice car, which I think I paid for now.
I'm sure you did.
Very, very nice car.
Yeah, exactly. I can't afford one now, but he can.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least somebody. Oh,
you got a nice bit of echo there.
yeah. I need to turn off the microphone.
Glenn, he's a very good dentist, which is why it's hard to get in to see him. So, and since it's going to be a root canal through a crown, I don't want him to wreck the crown, which would be another 600 quid on top of the root canal job. So, I'm very happy to wait the 10 days and get a decent appointment with him.
What, it takes an extra 600 quid to drill through a crown?
No. If
you need a new crown.
You have to
makes a mess of the
you have to
crown.
redo it.
Yeah, if he wrecks the crown, then.
Ah.
And considering they're porcelain, then there is a chance, I guess.
Crown him with many crowns.
Yes, well, I've got a mouthful of them.
Oh, hey, is Carlos, are you in the chat room? Was he in the chat room?
I haven't seen him.
All right. I think he was hinting that he is available. He is available to join us in the show. Let's see.
He said
I should send him the link for
two
the
things, and then I
host.
Richard, that's very comforting to know that your dental nurse wife has lots of horror stories. Please don't tell any to me. And Tony, there is Sydney Harbour. There's the old coat hanger there, Sydney Harbour Bridge. There's the Opera House there. This was the standard print you got presented when you left 77 Squadron. Unfortunately, I was not the pilot. That's Binny, who went on to become Chief of the Australian Air Force and then Chief of the Defence Forces in Australia, which I think he still is. If you look at him now, Air Chief Marshal Binskin. Very nice bloke. We were flight lieutenants together on this squadron. I think that's his airplane, 21.5. Mine was 21.4. So I don't know why I got the other one. But anyway.
Austin says, it's not what you're supposed to just tell people it was you flying.
Well, there you go. I mean, he's actually got his head turned away, looking down at the water.
See,
I could easily say it was me, but no.
Yes, you're very honest.
Thanks. Yes. I would quite like to have done that trip. But I've no doubt that the Australian air traffic controllers were having a baby at the time, having a fighter in their airspace.
I'm sure they loved it.
I'm burning through all of Steph's time.
I know. I'm just sitting here looking at the clock. No, I'm just kidding. That's
Sorry.
fine.
There's always one more thing to do.
Always. Well, that's why I was shocked when Nick sent a text and he's like, hey, we're here. Where are you? I'm like, you're like 15 minutes early. Like, I just got out of the shower.
I was
blow drying
expecting
my hair. And
I wasn't expecting you to be there yet. Nick was not informed.
No,
He was deformed.
I'm just a mushroom.
a mushroom.
Kept in the dark and fed on shit.
I see. I'm sorry I asked.
Be on the lookout. I gave the link to Carlos and Matt. So
Okay.
Right.
I don't know if they'll see it, but I sent it via direct message on Twitter.
Austin, I wish I could say I was losing weight, but I'm not.
If I go to the bathroom, I lose weight.
Must be my red t-shirt.
Don't you people have jobs? No, none of us have jobs.
No.
Jobs. What are jobs?
Jobs.
Work.
17 minutes.
Oops. What's 17 minutes?
The countdown is on.
Have a beer.
Have a beer.
Yes,
okay.
Beer time in 17 minutes. I have a big countdown device here.
You do. The on-call countdown clock.
That's the one.
Yes. Don't they have an app for that on your phone? You could just. I think it's actually just called the clock.
I've got one that counts down for my retirement.
For retirement? Yes,
Yeah.
I've seen that one.
That is currently showing, because I've looked at it for a few days. 940 days.
Not bad.
It's less than 1,000.
Yeah, less than 1,000 now. Any other periods of nothing else looking terribly. Nah. So let's see if I can put another one in. Back. Plus, there we go. Duration. Repeat. Event name. Beer.
That's a good question, Nathan.
Okay. 10th of February.
We're hopeful.
At time.
Always hopeful.
2200.
I agree with Austin. We just need the flat board, like the big, you just stick them behind someone.
Oh, okay. I thought it was something to do like waterboarding or something.
No.
Well, I don't think we have to get that drastic with the situation.
No, it's like Dana had the big cardboard cut out of Tom Brady. Yeah.
Oh.
Let's have a look. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
I now have a
Countdown for the
countdown.
Just have to wait for Matthew and Carl.
Are they on the show as well? Wow.
Yeah.
Easy boys.
I just sent them an invite.
Did they say they're coming?
Let me go back.
Like I invited them, but I have no idea if they're coming. But we'll just wait.
Well, it said it 4 minutes ago. But 20 minutes ago, they said that they're both still here if you need a panelist.
Oh.
But maybe between 20 minutes and 4 minutes, those 16 minutes, they decided to blow me off.
It evaporated. Yep.
15 minutes now.
Getting the minute by minute countdown. Huh?
Nothing. I thought Nick was going somewhere.
Me? Go somewhere?
Never.
So why is it that he's not... Matthew Bunting Frame is not seeing a chat room. Why not? I see it.
I've got
I don't
one.
know. I've got it.
I think you must be making a mistake somewhere.
He says, I think I might be being a goof.
No. Are you in the YouTube viewer? Because you only get it, I think, if you're in YouTube.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, you have to be. You can't be on Twitter and looking at just the video.
Oh,
You can't
that's
just
right.
look at the video feed. Go to the YouTube page and
Yeah, youtube.com/airline pilot guy. But you're probably not going to see it there because it's unlisted to keep the trolls out. Go to okay.
Go
to the
to
link.
airlinepilotguy.com/live.
I just updated it a couple minutes ago. That was one of the many one more things to do.
I've just posted the link. On the...
Yeah, but if he doesn't have the chat, then how's he going
that's
to get
good.
the link?
That's a good point. Well, look, when he's in the chat room, he'll know where to go.
Okay, so but he can hear us though, right? He sees the video.
I think so. So he should be hearing all of this.
Perhaps I should
Yeah.
put it on the video somehow.
So go to airlinepilotguy.com/live and then click on the TV, and that should bring you to the YouTube channel page with us and the chat room. The APG site link wasn't working earlier. Yeah, I know, Tony. I didn't do that quickly enough.
Thank you, Willem.
Just one more thing that I sometimes forget to do. Can you go to the APG and get in from there? I find chat often doesn't work from links for whatever reason. Huh. Yeah, but unfortunately, Jennifer, if he goes to the APG channel on YouTube, he won't see this because it's unlisted.
13 minutes.
I was
You
thinking
know, we
he's like,
might actually start the show by the time
might.
Yes, I might start it
You
with
can
a
drink a
beer
beer.
in my hand. That would be so nice.
might.
Yes.
Do you guys have any other way
And then
of getting?
And then I'll start my countdown for when I have to leave.
Oh, So
What?
Carlos and Matt, do you have a way of like pinging them to see if they're going to be joining?
I
us?
can I can send
like a
copy-
text message to them.
Yeah, I can text Carlos.
Okay.
I should have him.
Are they on iPhone? Why don't I have their?
Yeah, I don't know, because you're not nice enough.
Oh, okay. I'm not in the club.
Actually,
Let's see
he's
if I've got
not
him
on
here.
iPhone.
Here we go. It's Cap now. Carlos, there you go.
Tell him I sent him a direct message direct tweet with a link.
I'm tweeting. I'm actually sending him if it's the same link as us. It's the Google Hangouts.
Not
I've
the
just-
the one that you used to get on the Hangout.
the hosts one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've just sent him that to his phone. Oh, what a great picture! I can't show you this because it's on my messaging, but
Matthew made it.
oh,
Yay!
it's here.
Yay.
You heard that applause, right?
He did? Yeah.
Okay.
Where is he?
What am I looking at?
Who is he, and what are we talking about?
I don't know what you said, Matt. You've made it or something.
Matthew Bunting Frame is in the.
Right,
okay.
okay.
Matt and Carlos.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
congratulations.
I was very
Mr.
confused there
Bunting
too.
Frame.
Yay! Other Matthew, you've made it. Also.
Yeah. Matthew Bunting Frame.
Yes. I think that's how you pronounce it.
I think so.
Here we go. I've got Carlos. He says, Matt's gone. We I think thought you may have had a full crew. It's funny. I'm sure he's English, but there you go.
Does he type does he type
but perhaps
with
not.
his accent?
I think
Yeah,
you just have to read Maltese. That's what it is. But I'm set up here with laptops. If you like, I can log in and join.
Okay, do it. We're waiting for you. Put it in all caps.
Do it now.
Now.
Jeez. Nick, what countdown app do you use? What is it called?
It's a little freebie one called.
Well, there's like a gazillion of them.
Yeah, it is back.
Most of them are.
I have to come out of it now.
Crappy.
It's called Reminder Free, and it's got a little alarm clock with digits on the front. 9 minutes.
Got it.
9 minutes.
Okay, bear with, says Carlos.
Yes, it was a quick flight from Atlanta to Charlotte, and Charlotte to Atlanta is very quick.
It's like
pretty close.
36 minutes.
35 minutes going over and 40 coming back. Plus or minus 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And first thing in the morning, it's like the quickest flight ever. I've taken that one.
But
It's like,
you know, I love the city of Charlotte and I love the people of Charlotte. I do not love the Charlotte Douglas International Airport.
I don't either.
It's awful. And
Yes.
and the Acme ground crews are probably the worst in the system.
Wow.
We and then the people that work the ramp, which used to be U.S. Air ramp, now it's American ramp, are just really press my patience.
They hit all the buttons.
This crew this morning that pushed us out. I mean, they took. I was saying to my first officer, they should go to Atlanta and hang out with those guys for a while and see how we do it at the World Port. Because they are so fast with pushing back and disconnecting, and we push and we're out of there like within a couple minutes.
No, there's no hurry in Charlotte.
I mean,
for whatever reason.
What are we doing? I mean, of course, I can't communicate with them anymore because they pulled the plug out of the interphone thing, and then finally the guy has to get off the tug and help the guy. Maybe he was new to get the thing disconnected from the nose wheel. It took 10 times longer than it should have, and. Anyway, and then we were waiting for takeoff in 36 Center, and they had everybody lined up for about 20 minutes coming into that runway. I mean, I wish they'd just sent me to 36 left, and I could have been on my way. Oh, well, I don't know. Some people here in the chat room were stalking and listening to live ATC, and they heard my voice on the radio. Could you detect my frustration when we were finally clear for takeoff? I think you probably can. They know my voice inflections. I was not. I wanted to really say something, but I didn't.
It's tough, isn't it, Jeff? Because you think this is not this hard to organize. Surely, it's like you've got a bunch of toy cars to push around, and you just got to get it in the right order. And
I know.
Yeah.
It's just like,
I
it's not
had
that hard.
very similar experience today, not aviation related, but
medical related.
No, just pushing people around, like just shuffling people and getting them in the right order. I had a very light morning because apparently when it's cold in Charlotte, people can't leave their houses to go to their doctor's appointments. So I knew I was going to be And I knew I had the flight tonight, so I was like, well, I might have time to like get home, and then so I was like, so I called over to where I do my procedures on Friday afternoons. I said, hey, because a lot of times they want to get out of there early too, because it's Friday afternoon and I'm like the only provider there doing stuff. I'm like, if people can come in early, you can call people and see if they can come in starting at, we'll start procedures at 12:15. I'll just work through lunch. We've got a bunch of easy cases and we should be done and out of there by 2. So, well, it took until 2:30 because of course they said, oh yeah, we can do that. And then they actually weren't ready to go at 12:15. Like, they hadn't remembered to call X-ray. Like, we need an X-ray technician. They didn't call them to let them know we were going to start early. So it takes them like 10 minutes to walk over from the hospital and blah, blah, blah. And then because they had called people in early, we had a bunch of people there, which was good. But they put one person over like on the back hallway, which they never do, just to work them up and get them ready. And then completely forgot that they were over there. And I was like,
hey, what are those people doing over there in the hallway?
And finally I'm like, hey, what about this person? We're going to get them done, right? Like kind of in order because they've been here for a while. And they're like, who? Like they had no idea. They completely had forgotten that they brought this person and was like, oh my gosh. Like, you have one job. It's to look at the schedule and decide who comes into the room next.
I love it.
It's not hard. So same idea. It's like their job is just to, shuffle people around and yeah.
Right. Newton. Jeff knows what that is.
What did you say?
I just didn't hear what you said.
Thumph Newton.
Thumph Newton. I don't know.
Newton.
Newton. 5 minutes.
Yeah, Newton.
5 minutes.
4 minutes
ding,
now.
ding, ding, ding.
I wonder what our German listeners must think of when we massacre their language. At least I massacre their language.
Probably not much.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. What happened to Carlos?
I don't know. He just said his last message was okay, bear with. But my last message was Jeff says get your PT UK ass in gear.
I did not say that, but I was thinking it.
Well, I can read your mind, Jeff. Didn't you know that? Talent of mine.
Those inflections in your voice that you were talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nick is expert at reading that.
Yep.
La, la, la. This is fascinating.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah, people love watching
This is great TV right here. Great radio. And it's neither, by the way.
It is what?
It is neither.
Neither. No, it's really not.
Oh, look at that. My work day, Jeff, in a boat with the niece, the guy who owns Sky Traders who supply Antarctica. Oh, very nice. Matthew sent in a nice picture of him in a boat. Peace, man.
Owen wants to know, how many languages do we all speak? The answer is barely one.
One.
Jing Lai Leung Baby Joe Wopong Yoge Chen.
Oh, 2.
Yeah,
well, Nick can say that in a lot of that same phrase, and I know what it means. And if you're ever in a bar,
mein Freund bezahlen.
While you're standing there, just get your wallet out.
Ethnain Bear Rajan Siddiqui Sofa Yetfa.
Yes, Jen. Carlos is supposed to be joining the show.
Mon ami, votre pays.
You want to pee?
Dos cervezas, por favor. Mi amigo tiene el dinero.
Here's the new Plain Tales screen. Can you guys see that?
Oh yeah. Oh look. That
Very
looks
nice.
all right. I didn't know if it have enough detail. Sorry, what I meant was had too much detail really, because if people are looking at it on a phone or something, I thought perhaps it was a bit.
It's very phallic.
No. I could do a simpler one, but then again, you've got a simple one, so
yeah, that's fine.
Good,
I like it. Do 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 do.
I could call him. Shall I give him a ring?
Yeah.
Why not?
You have to stop your timer there.
What the crap are you doing?
1 minute to go by the time yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me know when it strikes 0. Then we'll.
I think you could probably just go ahead and drink that beer.
Yeah. I'll be a good boy there. I am always nothing if not good.
And I'm gonna crank call Nick's phone right now. Like, hi, this is Acme Red
Scheduling.
crew scheduling.
Yeah.
We're gonna
I need you at the airport immediately
come to the airport right
for
now.
a flight.
Actually, because I'm on
to-
the phone, they can't call me.
You
So
have to
that's
go
all
to
right, isn't it?
Lagos.
How's it going, Chap? Do you have a problem? All right. Okay. So you're setting up again. Okay. And you have the link and everything. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Any idea how long possibly? Okay. See you shortly. No problems. Can we put it somewhere else for you? No, it's not the host's link in Twitter. Yeah, I can do. All right, that's what I'll do then. Cheers. Bye. I've got to email him the link through.
Get here.
So,
you want me to email it to him?
well, yeah, if you've got his email, yeah, please do.
Yeah.
I think that was it. While I was on the phone, I think it went buzz. Yes. Hooray! I sound like a sheep.
Ding.
All right.
Should I start my? I'm starting my countdown. 30 minutes.
All right, here we go. One nice chilled Spitfire.
Spitfire.
Look at that. And I love that. It's got a roundel on it. Yes, yeah.
Oh, yep,
good.
that's it.
Cheers, my dears.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, that's good. Oh. Because actually, having an afternoon and evening call means I'm not going to be able to get to drink very much at all during this call period. Or the next one, which is the same.
When are you back on?
Tomorrow evening or tomorrow afternoon.
2 o'clock?
Yep. 2 to 10. And then, so this block is 4 days. If they don't call me out, then I get a couple of days free and then another 4 days. And then that's the end of my standby month. So that's not a bad month to have, actually. Spitfire Gold. No, it's not gold that I can see. It just says it's rather a good brand, quite honestly. Branding. The beer's fine, but it's called the Bottle of Britain as opposed to the Battle of Britain. And it's called Britain's oldest brewer. 1698 they started brewing beer, this lot. And they are by appointment to His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales. Shepherd Neame, I guess, is the brewer. Premium Kentish ale. And since I am a man of Kent, depends which side of the Medway River you get born as to whether you're a Kentish man or a man of Kent. I am a man of Kent. So I think it's very apt. It's not bad. It's a little cold, is my only problem. This little freezer device I was using is actually designed to cool white wine. It's not really designed for these.
Well, hey, it does the trick.
Yes, it's a bit too cold.
So I sent it to his Carl's Real Ale account. Would that work? Or is he looking for it in the UK?
I don't know. I'll check my thing.
Give me that address. What is it? Feedback at PTUK or contact at PTUK? Come on, somebody help me.
Looking for it.
We're all useless.
Let me search.
It is I have no idea.
Thanks for pretending.
Well, because you
It's,
go to their contact us on their website, it just like has a form to fill out.
I'll message him again.
Somebody in the chat room's got to know what their feedback address is. Come on, help us out.
You guys send feedback to them, right? Sure. Maybe it's in my email contacts. Hold on.
Help me.
Oh, my boarding pass for my flight just showed up on my phone.
What time's your flight?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
7:59 is what it says.
Oh. And you're going from here to Tampa?
Correct. Very specific. So there you go, stalkers.
Captain Jeff from Pennsylvania went through your fine airport earlier today. I guess I just missed him.
Waving to him from across town. Because I was sitting there at work, not really working because it was cold. And no one left their house.
Yep.
djcarlosuk@gmail.com.
What?
Or podcast at plaintalkinguk.com.
That's it.
That sounds good.
That's the one I'm.
Micah also says djcarlosuk@gmail.com.
Podcast.
That's it, DJ. Yeah. Either of those.
Podcast. La 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 la.
Doctor, give me the news. I got a bad case of
APG syndrome.
no pills gonna cure my heel. I got a bad case of
APG syndrome. Does the music sound any better than it normally does to you all?
Yeah, it sounds more even on the volume because it usually modulates.
Yep. I'm using the studio mode.
Ooh, is that
But
good?
don't do that. Don't you all do that because you need to send me the stay in the voice mode.
I wouldn't even know how to change that.
How do I do that? Yeah.
I don't know. I'm
Sounds
not gonna
great.
tell you.
Not telling me. Just in case I want to play. I know.
Oh no. No, really, don't, because I think it might mess things up.
I wouldn't if I could.
My flight leaves from gate D6, International Terminal. Interesting.
Oh. Well, Tampa is almost international.
Almost. Not quite.
Are you going with your dad?
Mm-hmm. What? Mm-hmm.
That's the way you said that. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to spend
Steph.
some quality family time in the car.
Steph.
What?
Nothing. Carlos has just slipped into his pajamas. I think so too, Tony.
Yes.
You know,
Like, did he dismantle everything?
Matt's the one that does all the technology stuff.
I know. That's what I was
the
thinking
problem.
too, but I wasn't going to say it.
If Matt were there, then he would have been on 15 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm. He's watching.
Hello. Is it me you're looking for?
Hold on, girl, now wait just a minute. I've got something to say, you should hear it. Oh, I'm happy to make time for your feelings, but you have to admit I already do. Let's just break it down to you and me uptown, dancing all around till the disco ball pops. But I have to be me, and everyone can see your anger is misplaced. And I'm gonna tell ya, don't hate me 'cause I get attention. Don't turn me into what I'm not. I have to be me 24/7, and I ain't never gonna stop. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, and I ain't never gonna stop. Come on, listen to me. I've tried so many times to tell you this is as good as I can be. Why isn't it enough to be faithful and also be the hit of the party? Let's just break it down to you and me uptown, dancing all around till the disco ball pops. But I have to be me, and everyone can see your anger is misplaced. And I'm gonna tell you, don't hate me 'cause I get attention. Don't turn me into what I'm not. I have to be me 24/7, and I ain't never gonna stop. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Never gonna stop. No, 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 no. Yeah, 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 yeah. I ain't never gonna stop. No, no. Oh, I ain't never gonna stop. I ain't never gonna stop now, baby. Never gonna stop now, baby. Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. Never gonna stop now, baby. Ooh. Never gonna stop now, baby.
That was Don't Hate Me by some artist on YouTube.
I did like old chap. He's trying to get a camera to start working. He can't get his camera to work.
Matt, where are you?
No.
Sorry,
Everyone's
Steph.
saying, Matt, where are you?
Sorry.
He's downloading drivers for his camera.
Jeez.
I know, it's so funny. We only been sitting there for.
Owen's right. Never gonna start. More like it.
Mhm.
I ain't never gonna start this HOA.
Just when you get your camera going, do you actually have the link now? Because we've sent you a bunch of links. Okay. All right. All right. Has your laptop not got a built-in camera? Unless.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
That's what we're all asking, Jen. Wasn't his camera just on?
Oh, okay.
We've changed our mind. We don't want you to be on the show.
Okay, so do you need the link again, or can you transfer it to the other? Okay. Okay, cool. All right. All right. Cheers. Sorry, I was just chatting to my stock exchange bloke, you know.
Uh-huh.
He
Sell.
says his current the laptop he was going to use doesn't have a camera, and he can't get the plug-in camera working. So he's going to go upstairs and get the other laptop, which he will then have to fire up, and then I don't know. Do you want to kick off and just start with?
Yeah,
Steph?
whenever he shows up, we'll go, hey, like
Yeah,
somebody's
exactly
joining.
right.
I've got 15 minutes.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, at least you get your intro.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
I'll say hello and then
Goodbye.
goodbye.
Well, you
Gotta
could just
go.
do it from
I
your
have a lunch.
phone. We could watch you drive to the airport and everything.
All right.
Yeah, I'll just turn the camera on. Put it on mute and you can watch.
Can you put Taco in your chair?
No, Taco's actually not here.
Oh,
Oh.
he's
Taco
a
went
doggy
doggy daycare.
luxury hotel.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me make sure that this is on. Okay. Let's do it. What number is it?
259.
Thank you. Airline Pilot Guy, episode 259. It's kind of too low, isn't it? The volume? Can I move that up a little bit?
Well, either that or you talked over it, one or the other.
Okay. Oh,
He's here.
wait a minute. That's not Carlos.
That's Matt.
That's Matt. Matt, did you finally get over to Carlos's house and help him?
Hello, it's Matt here. Hello.
Yeah, hello,
Yes.
Matt.
Hi, Matt.
Hi.
Carlos is lost without you.
Where is he?
He
I
can't
thought
get
you
his camera to work, apparently.
Oh dear, really? Are you really gonna make me go all the way back to his house?
No.
No.
I think he needs to figure this out on his own. It's probably best for him.
It's good.
He's a grown up. I'm sure he can handle it now.
That's right.
Okay. Well, this is not quite how I. Wow. Hello.
Looks fine to me.
Well done, sir. Good to see you.
Hello. Hang on. I'm just making myself a little more comfortable. One moment.
Please do. All dressed up with the tie and everything. Shall we go and put our ties on?
There we go.
Come on. I don't believe you guys actually have ties in America. I mean,
I have
I have one tie.
really?
I probably have about 100 ties.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we're talking about the ones you wear around your neck with a collar, Jeff, not those things you use in your dungeon, okay?
Well, sometimes they're one and the same, actually. They come in handy and they don't really hurt your wrists.
That's
They're
true.
nice and soft.
I thought this was a family show.
Oh, I'm
lot.
sorry.
Behave.
Well, what do you think I'm talking about?
Family.
Oh dear. Oh. Well, I'm frantically trying to find. Fantastic! So I was trying to find my. Hang on, I've got a microphone with a lead on it. Hang on.
Nice.
Hang on. Just try and improve the audio.
Oh, don't worry. No hurry. We're still waiting for
Give me-
Carlos to figure out how to turn his computer on.
Yeah. Hey,
Good luck.
Jeff,
Good luck
You know,
with that.
we nearly got it going, didn't we? I mean, we nearly got it going.
Carlos
We almost
Jim-
had it.
there he is.
Oh, look.
Hey.
That's Carlos with his big phallus.
What?
Phallus.
Microphone.
The microphone. Yes.
Yes, that's going. Oh, I'll put him in the full screen. Let me see that.
I had to take a closer look at the picture there. But
Hello, is that working?
Yes.
Hello? Is that working?
Yeah, it's kind of a. Can you turn the gain down a little bit?
Oh, yeah, hold on. How's that? Is that any better?
Yeah.
Hello.
Much.
That's okay.
Now we
Hello.
can't hear you, Matt.
You can't hear me. Okay.
Oh no, I can't. You need to turn your gain
Oh, you
up.
can. Hang on. Hang on. Give me a
Sure.
second.
Sure.
Did these guys used to run a podcast where they used to have all the fancy equipment and good audio and decent cameras?
In our defence, we were all beautifully set up in the kitchen studio, and then nothing happened for a very long time, so we packed the studio up.
It was only 16
it was like
minutes.
15 minutes.
when I saw it and
Are
responded to your
you
email.
hearing me through this microphone? Is this the microphone you're hearing me through?
I don't hear it tapping. It sounds like it's the computer
No.
mic.
Ah, right. Okay.
Because it's picking up a lot of the room noise.
Yeah, I wonder why that is.
Because you've selected the wrong microphone in your app.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, Carlos, in the Hangout app, if you hover your mouse up toward the top, there's a settings icon that will show up,
Little cog.
like gear or whatever, cog.
Yeah, just to the left of the red telephone.
But you have to hover
Don't
your
press the red telephone.
Don't
you have
press
to
the
hover your
button.
mouse. You have to hover your mouse in that Hangout window toward the top, and then it'll show up.
You can just click on the Hangout window and it shows up.
Oh,
Yeah, mine's there all the time.
Yeah,
It
mine,
is?
as soon as my mouse is over the screen, it comes up.
oh,
He's not
Okay,
actually
well-
looking at the screen at the moment, but
never mind.
No change there then.
Hey, Nick, are you going to bring that banner that's hanging behind you askew? Are you going to take that with you? Well, that's right. You may not even be coming to
if I come to Pittsburgh, I will certainly bring it with me.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Although I'm sure the RV that we're going to be given will have a big screen TV in it. We could use that.
The RV? What?
Upgrades, anyone? Upgrades.
The tour bus that we're going to be.
I suppose the next thing these guys are going to need are show notes.
Oh shit! Excuse me. Shoot.
Now that was worth waiting through 50 minutes.
Okay. Let me share this with. Let's show up. Wow.
Oh, hello. All I can hear is a fan, Carlos.
Oh, can you?
Have you done this before,
Worse.
Carlos?
That was worse than whatever you had before.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let's try.
You're,
What are you trying to plug into where, Carlos?
Is that any better?
No.
No. Oh. Because I haven't got a USB mic.
well,
Is that
in front of
how
me
are you
right
trying
now?
to connect it to your computer without a USB mic?
I think that's
I
the
don't know.
problem.
I'm guessing it's picking up the microphone from this,
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
or is it this one?
No,
No, it's
the other one.
Earbud
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Actually,
Just don't say anything. It'll be fine.
Just don't say- we'll just put you on mute. Just do hand signals.
Oh, I'll tell you what, if I could do that during our show, like that'd just be amazing. A mute button. Just,
All right.
The problem when
let's
you're
see.
sitting in the same room.
yeah.
All right. So, which you want me to send? Do you both get the PTUK podcast at PTUK?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, if you send it there, we both get it.
Ages. Let's have a look and see if these
Amazing.
little beasts work.
What on
Okay.
earth are you doing?
That's that. I look so cool.
Define cool.
So,
That's from my gaming days. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on.
Still can't hear anything.
Right. How's that? Is that any better?
Yeah, it is actually.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, that's
Is
good.
it using
Yeah.
this microphone now?
Yes, it is.
Oh, good. All right.
okay. Now, if you all have Evernote on your computers, or if not, you can go to evernote.com and. Yeah, this may not work very well. Here, let me give you a
Or you
public
can
link.
just, I mean, they
I'll
can
give you
just
I'll give you a public link to this stuff.
comment it.
Yeah, or you can just listen. You don't need it. Yeah, it's not going to make any difference. Not
really
like we're going to have you
wouldn't.
read anything.
Not much.
Okay, Steph has exactly 5 minutes before she's got to go.
Oh no.
Really?
6.
Steph, where are you going?
She's
Florida.
gotta go somewhere. She's going to tell us here in a second.
Oh, she's just going to fly.
I'll tell you. Yeah, I'll stick around for that much of it.
Okay,
Quiet on the
Right.
set, please.
quiet on the set.
Nick, you need to give me an address to send this book to.
Later, old chap, I certainly will.
Okay.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 259. Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. I'm Captain Jeff, your host, broadcasting live from Studio 1A in the APG headquarters building in Roswell, Georgia. In today's episode, an Air India cabin crew and problems with buffets, wheels falling off the 767s, engine failures, a lot more news, your feedback, and a new Plain Tales episode, the Busby Babes. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in their upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. Flight 259 is ready for pushback. Hello, folks, and welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show and the Aviation Podcast, where we focus mostly on commercial aviation and kind of an operational viewpoint of things, because a bunch of pilots here and others who are special guests on today's show. And yeah, so that's what we do, an aviation podcast where we talk a little bit about everything aviation. And joining me for a short period of time is... Why is it doing that? There we go.
Doctor?
A doctor?
Doctor? Doctor? Doctor?
Doctor?
And multi-engine instrument rated commercial pilot, Dr. Steph.
Hello, hello. And yes, I have the distinct pleasure of joining you all for the next 4.5 minutes. So,
Yay! Let's get a big round of applause for that. We've been experiencing some technical issues, and so unfortunately she's not going to be able to stay with us very long. But hey, we got a little bit of Steph.
I get to say hello, at least.
Yeah. And
yes. And hello to the guests and everything else. So
just hang in there.
But
We're
yes,
going to talk to you
just
here in a second.
quickly.
Okay. And also join the pond in the southwest of London. We have a wide-body Airbus captain for a European carrier. His name, Captain Nick. Hello, sir.
Hi, Jeff. Hi, Steph. For the very short time you'll be with us, we're going to miss you. Joining you from near London, down on the countryside in the edge of Hampshire and Surrey. And sitting here, been on call, haven't been called out, so delight to be back on the show tonight. So thanks, Jeff, for having me on again.
Oh, yeah. Well, good to see you, as always. And we mentioned our special guests, and so we're going to roll out our special guest music. Let's listen to this a little bit. We have the honor of two hosts of probably the best aviation podcast in the world with us today, the Plain Talking UK podcast, Carlos and Matt. Welcome.
Well, hello. We've disbanded. Actually, we're actually in our separate homes. This could be the way forward. I have to be honest. You know, it's quite nice not to have to sit next. Yeah, Carlos does smell really bad. There's no two ways about it. So, actually, being in a different room to him could really be the way forward. This is a new experience for me.
Can I just make a point in saying that before Matt left the kitchen studio this evening, he managed to tip over an entire bowl of cat water, plus the food on top of the cat's water, which made a rather nice mess of the kitchen floor, which had been cleaned this afternoon by my mother.
Oh, my goodness. That's that's sad.
Still, first world problem.
Oh, man.
Oh, dear.
Well, we're going to talk to
Lovely
Matt
to be
and
here.
Carlos here in a second, find out more about their absolutely fantastic podcast and a little bit about them as well. But before we do, let's get the last 30 seconds from Dr. Steph Plummer before she leaves on her whirlwind trip.
Yes. Well, first of all, I should say hello properly to Matt and Carlos. And thank you guys for joining. And I'm sorry I can't stick around and chat with you all because that would be a lot of fun, but it's going to add a lot to the show tonight. So thanks for for being here. But yeah, I'm actually leaving here to go to my local airport, the Charlotte Douglas International Airport. Going to take a very quick weekend trip down to Florida, visit with my grandfather, and take care of some family stuff. So not really vacation per se, but will be nice to see my grandfather and spend some quality time with him and my dad.
Speaking of,
and yeah. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of quality time, last night in Charlotte, I got a chance to spend some quality time with Dr. Steph and her dad, Mike, and we went to one of those places we really like going to, the Cowfish restaurant, and had some great sushi and beer and great conversation. So I really enjoyed that stuff. Thanks for picking me up from the hotel.
Yes, thank you for dinner. We appreciate it.
I was very jealous as I was sitting here on call, not able to join in or anything.
Well,
you said you were going to make the trip over. You had plenty of time, I think, to make it to
Charlotte. I might try, but I think the sushi might have all gone. It looked delicious.
It was very good. Cowfish always does a good job. So
it was.
Yes, that was a lot of fun. And I guess I'll catch you guys next week. I hope you have a great show today. I know there's one piece of feedback specifically in the folder that Liz sent. It says, Steph will know all about this, but I know Liz is in the chat room right now. So the answer is no, I actually don't know all about that. So when they get to that feedback, they can answer for me because I don't have a good answer for it.
Maybe
so stay tuned for that.
Maybe our guests will know the answer.
I think they will. I think they will.
Okay.
At least more.
Well, excellent. Well, thanks for being with us for a little while, Steph, and go ahead and excuse yourself now so you can get all ready to go, and you don't have to rush to the airport and be stress-free and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's rush hour on a Friday afternoon, so it should be a pleasant trip.
Well, bye, Steph. Safe travels.
All right. Bye, Nick. Good seeing you as always.
Bye.
We'll catch up with you guys soon. Bye, guys. Bye.
Take care, Steph.
Yep. Bye.
All right. So, as I mentioned that I had picked up a quick turnaround to Charlotte last night and had a chance to see Dr. Steph and her dad. And when I was getting off the airplane going into Charlotte, a guy, one of the last passengers off the airplane, was wearing an Acme uniform, and he was walking off and he said, Captain Jeff, nice to meet you finally in person. And I went, oh, and I'm looking at him going, maybe, have I flown with him before? And, but it just wasn't coming to me. And he said, my name's Brad Hickey, and I've been listening to your podcast for like over a year. And I heard you on the PA. And as soon as I heard your voice, I thought, I know who that is.
Oh, wow.
So he's brand new at Acme. He's been with us since, I think he said July of last year. And he was deadheading to Charlotte to pick up a flight from Charlotte to Detroit, I think. Anyway, so it was nice, Brad, if you're listening. It was a pleasure meeting you. And hopefully one of these days we'll get a chance to fly together. That'd be a lot of fun. And okay, now here's the one that I really have to make a big apology for. So earlier this week, I picked up a 3-day trip with a Columbus, Ohio layover. And I know that there are at least a couple of people in the Columbus area that wanted to get together. And and maybe both of them are in the chat room. We have James Balch and Jen Niffer are in that general area of the country. And so I told them, hey, good news. I have a layover in Columbus, and let's get together. And then I thought, should we just make this an APG meetup? And James said, yeah, that's a great idea. So I made a tweet and I put a post on Facebook, and then I set off to do my trip. We had a little bit of a problem with the first airplane leaving Atlanta going to LaGuardia. And it was an anti-skid braking system problem, and they couldn't fix it at the gate. They said, we're going to have to get you another jet. So we moved to another gate with another airplane, and that kind of set us off on about an hour delay. And so when we were en route to LaGuardia, we got a reroute message that said that we would be flying a later flight from LaGuardia back to Atlanta. And instead of going to Columbus, Ohio, we'd be going to Flint, Michigan. Yay. Not. So I thought, well, so much for the APG meetup in Columbus, Ohio. So I contacted James and Jen and said, hey, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be in Columbus tonight. So, oh well, maybe, a rain check. And is somebody playing music in the background? Huh.
No, I'm hearing a little
Or shaving or something. Is somebody shaving? This is not the time to shave on a podcast.
Well,
okay.
What can I say? I wanted to look my best. You know?
Okay, well, you look great, by the way. So anyway, so I thought, okay, well, so much for that, and I'll just get on with the trip and head up to Flint and get on with my life. And then I got this message from someone. I think it was Steph. She said, well, there are a couple people that are looking for you at the Pies and Pints restaurant, the APG meetup that you announced to the world that you were going to be in Columbus, Ohio. And I went, I forgot to put out a tweet and a Facebook post letting people know that I wasn't going to be there. And I really feel bad about that. Isaac Lamb was there, and he works for another airline. He was on layover. He Ubered from his hotel near the airport down to where we were supposed to be meeting. And then, this is even worse, Cheryl and Thomas Mandrake, Mandrake, hope I'm pronouncing your name right, they drove all the way from Cincinnati, Ohio to Columbus to meet up with me. And guess what? I wasn't there. And I felt so horrible for that. So please, if you're listening, Cheryl and Thomas, I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to make it up to you in some way in the future. So please accept my humble apologies for being so callous and uncaring and not thinking about the fact that there might be others. Honestly, I didn't think there would be anybody else showing up, but Jen and James. But anyway, so my apologies. Wanted to get that out of the way right off the bat. And
well, you better just show us your scars where you slit your wrists.
Well, it didn't get that bad, but pilots do suffer depression. But yeah, so I really do feel bad. I mean, when I saw that text, I went, "Oh shoot! I didn't even think about that. What an idiot!" So anyway, so we got that out of the way. Nick, I know your week has been kind of mostly just sitting and waiting for somebody to call.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, this whole month is just a series of blocks of me on standby, waiting to fill in for a flight if someone falls ill or there's a disruption of some kind. So that is on my second block of standby now, and they haven't called me yet. So I've been sitting at home, and it's pretty unusual. Usually I get a trip of some kind or another. Not a lot you can do. Most of the standby is so short that I can't really leave the house, so I'm just sort of sitting by. I've really got to be able to get changed and get out of the house in like about 30 minutes to get to the airport in time if they do call. So if I do this block, I've only got one more before the end of the month, and then I'm on a little bit of leave, which will be nice. But I find it a bit frustrating. I'd quite like to go fly if it's somewhere nice, but just sitting here nursing a tooth that's a bit painful.
Uh-oh.
Got a tooth that has reared its ugly head again. It needs a root canal job. And last time I managed to sort it out with some antibiotics, but it has come back again. So I had to make an appointment now to go and see the barber. We have those guys in the UK that sometimes they cut your hair, sometimes they pull your teeth. Anyway, I've got one of those. Been booked up to go and smash my teeth around for half an hour and charge me a fortune for doing it. I don't know how they get away with that. I really don't.
I thought the easiest way to do it was to put a bit of cord around it, attach it to a door and just slam it. I thought that's how you used to deal with teeth.
When I was about I don't know 9 or 10, I guess that was what we used to do. I certainly remember doing it. This is slightly expensive. I'd rather not get rid of this one. It costs about 600 quid to put in there. I don't particularly want to get rid of it.
Wow.
Hey, just quickly, I was just talking about James and our failed attempt at an APG meetup in Columbus, Ohio, and he is in the chat room with us right now. And he says, I didn't get a push notification. Well, that's another thing I need to tell you about. I took over the app responsibility, the iOS and Android app thing, and everything was going swimmingly until the certificates required to continue with push notifications and other things on the iOS platform expired. The gentleman who had created the app and was managing it before apparently hasn't renewed his certification. So I'm going to have to take care of it. That's why I contacted the company and said, hey, what's wrong? My iOS people aren't getting the push notifications. And they said, oh, well, it's your fault because you don't have the proper certification to do that. I went, oh, sorry. So I got to work that out here hopefully soon so that all of you with iPhones and iPads like myself will get the push notifications. So when we are about to go live and when we release episodes and such, you'll get those push notifications again. Now, if you have an Android device and you have the Airline Pilot Guy app, you should be receiving the push notifications, hopefully. So sorry about that, but we're working on that. It's always something, isn't it, Matt, Carlos?
Pretty much, yeah, absolutely. It's all part of the fun, isn't it? I do love iOS, but it's so. I suppose it's good because you have so many hoops to leap through to which is why it's such a secure platform over say Android. But they do make you work for your privileges, if you see what I mean.
Yes. Okay, so that was the voice of Matt Smith, and he is part of the duo who do that fabulous podcast, Plain Talking UK. We just call it PTUK amongst ourselves. And they just finished actually recording a show, within the last hour or two, and put out their weekly show, or it hasn't put out. They recorded it anyway. And so it was a pleasure to be able to have you join us on our little show over here. So tell us about yourselves. Carlos, why don't you start?
Well, me, as you said, Jeff, I'm the host of the Plain Talking UK podcast, which hopefully some of your listeners listen to. We have a handful of your listeners, I think, who join us each week.
I'm sure they all do.
And
we merely borrow them. We merely borrow them for a little while.
We borrow them.
We're all together in this big family.
I live right on the east coast of the UK, literally right on the east coast of the UK, about half an hour from the beach, as to say. Nick knows just how far out of the way I live because he's travelled here himself, so he's managed to find his way here, which is good. I am also doing pilot training, PPL, around about nearly halfway through. It's extremely hard at 40 years old, which I am, now. It's hard. It's come hard, but yeah. Well, exactly. But no, I love to fly. I love everything aviation, and I've had a very very charmed life from a youngster and been able to fly on many different aircraft. So yeah, that's me.
So Carlos, what would your most favorite aircraft be?
Oh, do you know?
I think I answer this one.
I wish there was a clue. If you're watching the video, you might have some clue.
Oh, and there's one rule: it can't be a Boeing.
It's not okay then. Well, that's fine. Well, unfortunately, my favourite aircraft is there's only one flying left in the world, as far as I'm aware. There are, let me think. I think there's 6 other ones which are capable of flying, but the Royal Air Force binned them off last year, and they're sitting on a airfield in the UK. I think at Bruntingthorpe, I think they are, or somewhere in the UK at one of the airfields here, awaiting their fate. The poor TriStars, but yeah,
the lucky L-10 TriStar, and I know that one space agency is, I don't think it's NASA, but it's like a private
Orbital
company.
Sciences.
Thank you. They have one that's up and running, and then I think there are some others, aren't there, that are being used for firefighting, or maybe I'm just hallucinating. Maybe I am.
No, I think they've got some of those horrible DC-10 things. The ones where McDonnell Douglas couldn't sort of think where to stick the number 2 engine, so they just kind of glued it onto the tail. Yeah.
I'm sure my brother worked on the TriStar when he was with Canadian, Didn't they call it the Death Star? Why would they do that?
I don't know what you're talking about. No, they never did.
We won't go down that avenue. Otherwise, we'll have to go into the whole conversation of just how many DC-10s there were with issues, as opposed to the few L1011s that actually, I think all the L1011 crashes, I think, were quite a few of them are pilot error, I think, if I remember rightly.
Oh dear.
Anyway,
must be very hard to fly. Jeff, it was hard to fly, wasn't it, old chap?
No, it was a dream to fly.
Exactly.
Beautiful airplane.
And on that subject of crashes, this is the book that we've been printing this week at the company I work for, which is quite a good book. I'm sending this one over to Nick.
Oh, can't wait! Thank you very much.
It's got a lot about there's a lot of Airbus incidents in here, but yeah.
Yeah, probably overwhelming.
That'll keep him
amount.
Yeah.
Not nearly as many as knowing, I'm sure.
Christine Negroni is a wonderful, very very knowledgeable lady, and I'm sure it's a good read.
It's a good book. It is a very good book, and I have to say on that note of books, actually, Jeff, we have reprinted the Sully book now. It must be coming up to nearly 10 times since that book was released.
Wow.
So it's obviously a very very popular book, the Sully book.
Is this just off the back of the film? Just out of interest, is that why it's been printed so many times? Yeah. So suddenly there's so much interest in the book now as a result of the film.
Probably so.
It's and strangely enough, all the people I know who I work with, most of which have no interest in aviation or flying at all, all of whom who watched the film absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it.
Richard King's just said in the chat room, which I think is a very good point. All this talk is not really selling flying to Matt at the moment.
Don't read that book.
No, absolutely.
So Matt Smith,
Hello.
Tell us about yourself. You're the other half of the hosting setup at the PT UK. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, there's not really a lot to tell. I quite often refer to myself as an imposter, because I really do know absolutely. I know a lot more about aviation than I did about a year and a half ago, but it is one thing that I don't know a great deal. I mean, I do fly a bus, but it's not an Airbus. It's a coach, sadly. It certainly doesn't have wings, although I suppose if you hit the odd humpback bridge at the wrong speed, it might do. But it's I'm just the tech guy, basically. I'm the one that pulls off these ridiculous challenges that Carlos throws at me every week, where he wants to have 100 Skype guests and try
and brilliantly, if you don't mind me saying. I wouldn't. That last show was technical genius. I didn't know how you were going to do it. It's fantastic.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, it is a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. And do you know what? I mean, one of the nice things, and I know APG has the same thing, is the people who are listening and acting with you when you're doing the show live. I mean, and that's really where I come in. I'm sort of reading the chat room out, because they know a lot more about the stuff than I do, and so I can sit there and feel really intelligent as I'm reading out the comments.
Well, I'll tell
claiming
you
them all as my own.
I'll tell you a little secret, Matt. We don't know that much about aviation either. We just act like we do. Hopefully, nobody will actually, pursue any investigations into the, whether we really are airline pilots.
That's all lies. I know that to be the case.
So we talk about a lot on the APG show, the wonderful time that we had at Farnborough this past summer, and that wonderful live recording meetup that we did at the in the banquet room at the hotel, the Hogsback.
Yeah.
And that was just awesome. And let me tell you what, Matt and Carlos, but especially Matt, is a genius when it comes to technology and satellite dishes and cables. And then, of course, Nev is the master of the audio, and just the two of them together was just and also Carlos setting up all the DJ equipment is just it was just a sight to see, and I was amazed, and it was so much fun just kind of sitting there watching them do all the work, and all I had to do is just connect my microphone to an XLR cable and start talking.
I have to say,
that's all I had to do, but it didn't work, did it? I connected my microphone and I had it backwards. So.
No, I guess you just had it the wrong way round, Nick. That's the only reason that went.
Well, I was supposed to have my back to the audience, was I?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there would have been some certain advantages to that, obviously. No. I mean, seriously though, I mean, we couldn't have done it without Nev. I mean, the amount of planning that Nev put in the background, and not so much that, I mean, helping us source the satellite and all that kind of thing. I mean, it was, really the praise really needs to go to Nev for all his hard work, because I mean, he was going up there for days and days and days, scouting trips, doing network tests and all sorts. I mean, it was just a wonderful few days. I can't believe it was over so quickly.
Yeah, it was a great time. Not only that event itself, but just hanging out with everybody at the air show and other places between the air show times. It was a lot of fun. So anyway, so great to have you guys with us. And if you're listening to this and you don't subscribe to the Plain Talking UK podcast, all I have to say is, why not? And what's wrong with you? So please do. If you're subscribing to podcasts via iTunes, please put that on your list of great aviation shows to listen to, and also leave a review for them, because that really helps. And anyway, great to have you with us. And anything else to talk about before we move on to the coffee fund?
Nope.
All righty. And with that, let's do this. Now, if you sing, there's going to be a huge delay, so just warning you.
Johnny, how much more coffee? No thanks.
I love coffee, I love tea, I love a Java and it loves me. Coffee and tea and a Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. And trust me when I say there's no way that I'm going to be able to fix that in post. But it doesn't matter, because it was still a lot of fun. The Coffee Fund, the Java Jive sung by the Ink Spots. They recorded this in 1940, and I still say that this is public domain. So those people trying to get mad at me for playing it on my show, shame on you. The reason why we play it on the show is because I like this song. And also, we have something here at the Airline Pilot Guy show called the Coffee Fund, which is your way to support us financially if you can. We always like to say, if you have rent to pay and food to purchase and clothing, etc., and flying lessons, whatever, don't spend your money on us, spend it on that other stuff. But if you have some extra change lying around, we'd be more than happy to accept it, and you can do that by being part of the Coffee Fund cadre, and you can learn information about how to do that by heading over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. And since the last episode, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 folks who used the Coffee Fund Classic method via PayPal, and those fine folks are Tom Stanton, Jonathan Couch, Jeff Moeller, and Nico Rager. And thank you very much for the using that method of payment for the for the Coffee Fund. And you can also support us by becoming a patron of the show. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a patron of the art, because I'm not sure exactly what art this would be that we're doing here. But if you like the show and you get value, entertainment, whatever from the show, and you want to, patronize us, wait, that's not the right thing to say. If you want to become a patron of the show, you can, again, learn about how to become part of the Patreon cadre, the Coffee Fund cadre there. And 2 folks have joined us since the last episode, Mick Head and Mark Lynn. So thank you, all of you, for your generous contributions to the Airline Pilot Guy show. It's much appreciated. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. Oh.
Love it.
Stand by for news.
In a rather embarrassing note, Air India has served a warning to all of its flight attendants after a hotel in London complained that some cabin crew members would bring boxes to pack and take away food from the breakfast buffet table to be eaten later. So apparently they were staying at a very nice hotel with a very beautiful spread at the Hotel Renaissance. And that was at Heathrow. So I don't know. Are you guys familiar with the Hotel Renaissance near Heathrow?
No.
I've stuck my nose in there a few times.
Have you? Have you kind of scooped up some stuff in a box yourself? Well,
No.
apparently,
Sounds very expensive. Sounds like a place I couldn't afford to stay, to be fair.
Actually, that hotel is one of the best hotels for plane spotting at Heathrow.
oh, really?
Yeah, they've actually got a covered area with stairs and steps and seating and all that kind of stuff. Very nice.
Well, apparently the assistant general manager of the in-flight service department of Air India sent out a note saying a buffet is not a takeaway. And we have received an unfortunate email from the management of hotel in London stating that some AI crew members regularly come down for breakfast with empty boxes into which they fill food items from the buffet, presumably to eat later. The letter warned that Air India would be forced to take serious disciplinary action against the offenders, adding that we are aware that this could be a very small minority indulging in such a behavior. This may include not being scheduled on international sectors, as we have no desire to allow the reputation of Air India to be tarnished by a handful of such individuals, regardless of how hungry they are. They didn't I added that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That is embarrassing, isn't it?
Well, it is a bit. I've a certain amount of sympathy. I don't suppose their cabin crew are paid that much.
True.
And they probably supplement a lot of their wages with the food allowances they get. So if they can avoid having to pay for a meal by sneaking a few bits extra from breakfast and, they'll probably keep on doing it. They'll just stick it in their coat pockets now.
Yeah. Be more discreet about it.
I suspect here. You know what I'm suspecting now that you mentioned the fact that there's a great plane spotting spot there? I think it's probably a bunch of plane spotters that are doing this and taking
How dare you? How dare you?
It's me. I'm the one there.
I don't think they'll be able to get into the average Air India size uniform, Jeff, unfortunately. They're very,
what
very
on earth are you trying to imply?
Everyone. So Owen says in the chat room, I may or may not have been guilty of this while I was living in a hotel in London. ... Yeah, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
We blame everything on Owen. It's fine.
Of course, Pilot Pip doesn't see anything wrong with it. Okay, well, there you go.
No, Pilot Pip doesn't see anything wrong with most things. To be
I know.
fair.
So take that one with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Let's do an update on the My Cargo 747 Bishkek crash, where on the sometime last month, a couple weeks ago, I guess, they were attempting an approach into Bishkek. And the runway 26, they were trying to perform a Category 2 instrument landing system approach. And this is new information sent out to the Russian flight crew. Let's see, they did not monitor their altitude. The aircraft passed the final approach fix 650 feet above the glide slope. Okay, you should be like within just feet of the proper altitude when you hit the final approach fix. We have, in fact, that altitude that we have printed on our charts is called the glide slope check altitude, where if you are centered on the glide slope, you look at the altitude that you're passing and you make sure you cross-check that with what you see on your approach plate. And
is that a standard call in your flight decks, Jeff?
No, we don't. It's not a standard call for us, but I always brief it in my briefing, but we don't actually make it a call. Do you?
It is for us.
Okay, that should be maybe.
So the pilot flying calls final fix, and the pilot monitoring calls the height that you should be at, so you can both compare.
Oh, excellent. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So they go on, they said, therefore no glide slope capture occurred, and the aircraft continued to descend to 3,400 feet at 200 knots and leveled off at 3,400 feet. And the autopilot was engaged, of course, because it was a low visibility approach. Localizer capture and altitude hold. The glide slope deviation indicator showed a full scale down deflection. So for those of you who are not pilots, instrument rated pilots, that means that that little indicator at the bottom of the case, you're supposed to be like, that's supposed to be centered in what you're looking at, not at the bottom of the case. That means you're really, really high. And so they continued, and about just under a mile from the end of the runway, or the runway threshold, the aircraft passed through a false glide slope. Now, false glide slope is because the beam, the glide slope beam, an electronic beam that's being sent out to the aircraft is susceptible to interference, etc. Just the way the physics of electronics work. That the real glide slope is at 3 degrees, but there is sometimes they call a false glide slope, and in this case 9 degrees that shows up, so you can get a bad indication, and that's why we do that glide slope check to make sure that the glide slope indication that we're looking at is a valid indication. And at this point is when they received the false glide slope, and they got a glide slope deviation indication for about a second. The autopilot then changed to glide slope capture, so the autopilot, still engaged, said, oh, there it is. I'm going to go down this glide slope. And so they're under a mile from the end of the runway. They're at 3,400 feet. The elevation of the airport is basically around 2,000 feet. So this is about 1,350 feet, less than a mile from the end of the runway. And that's extremely steep if you would attempt to try to get down to where you need to be to land. But they did not realize that they were in that situation. They did not cross-check their approach trajectory, nor did the crew notice the full-scale down deflection of the glide slope deviation indicator. So they continued to descend parallel to and above the actual glide slope at 100 feet radio altitude. The captain called for a go-around due to a lack of visual references. Toga was activated at 52 feet radio altitude. The aircraft, however, touched down 900 meters past the runway end and 60 meters to the right of the extended runway centerline, broke through a concrete fence, bounced and fell into the village about 1,000 meters past the runway end. Following the impact at the concrete wall, the aircraft began to break up and spilled fuel, which resulted in a fire and, unfortunately, the death of 37 people in the village and 8 others in the village who are seriously injured, and, of course, all 4 crew members as well. So it was a catastrophe, and it sounds like it is human error because they didn't take standard precautions in doing cross checks, doing an instrument approach.
Absolutely, Jeff, and it's a fairly gross error, and that's what a lot of our cross checks are. They're gross error checks, and almost any check would have picked up the fact that they had got a false beam on the glide slope. And your description is perfectly correct. It's just an additional lobe that occurs. No aerial can focus just a single beam perfectly accurately. You get much weaker lobes, I should say, of the signal coming out at different angles. And it's being so close in towards the aerial, it was obviously strong enough for the ILS to lock onto. But the whole point of doing the checks we do during one of these approaches, particularly for less than Cat 1, i.e. a Cat 2 or Cat 3 approach, where you really should be really cautious. They allowed themselves to get into this situation where the aircraft was descending at such a steep angle down a full glide slope to the wrong area that when they began their go-around, they had presumably such a high rate of descent that they couldn't arrest it in the small amount of space between their minima and the ground. If they'd been on a standard 3-degree glide slope, they'd have got away with it, of course, but not on this one. This is just a tragic lack of awareness from the crew.
Yeah, it makes all of us just cringe reading this, thinking, how in the world could they do that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But it does explain, I mean, we all had lots of little theories. I would not have dreamed that they would have picked up a false glide slope and come in on a 9-degree approach and ignored the fact that they were 1 mile from the threshold, 1,500 feet high. What?
Yeah,
what
and
is that about?
And they never got a glide slope track indication. It was just a glide slope capture for a moment, and then it was just kind of descending on its own with a full-scale deflection of the.
It must have been coming down like a brick on that angle of glide slope to try and hold it. The airplane must have been coming down at a hell of a rate of descent. I'm surely that would have.
There should have been so many red flags. And the hair on the back of their neck should have been standing straight up, thinking, "This is something that doesn't feel right about this." This is not right.
Very sad.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's your update on the My Cargo 747 crash. Let's see. Oh, looks like WestJet, a Canadian airline, had a little problem with one of their 767-300s on a flight from Calgary, Alberta, to...
That'd be a Boeing, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would be a Boeing to Honolulu.
Oh, here we go. Brace yourselves, everyone.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have another we have another Boeing to talk about as well. But we also have, to be fair, we have an Airbus incident that we'd like to talk about as well. Or I would like to talk about. Maybe
we may not have time for that.
Nick doesn't want to.
It'd be interesting to see how Nick spins this, shall we? To be sort of somehow positive.
Yeah,
well, it's not going to be an A3. It's not going to be an A340 because they've all been binned off now.
Are they still flying those things?
Oh, you bet. There are dozens of them beautiful flying around. So anyway, this outnumbering those old 747s, I'm sure.
Oh, come on, boys, play nicely.
That's part of the whole shtick of the show,
I'm sticking up for Rick. I am sticking up for Rick.
Yes. Okay. Anyway, this flight from Calgary to Honolulu was departing Calgary's runway 35 right. When immediately after becoming airborne, the crew received a brake temp indication. Tower advised the crew he saw a wheel rolling away from the aircraft. That's not a good thing. The crew decided to not select the gear up, which is a good decision, and leave the flaps at 5 degrees. The crew consulted with the operator's maintenance center and chief pilot while on radar vectors by ATC, then performed a low approach to Calgary to have the gear inspected from the ground. And we'll put a link to this article in the show notes, as we always do, and you can see some of the pictures taken from the ground and the missing forward outboard left tire from the gear assembly, and actually a nice little picture of the errant wheel all by itself in a field, and it, because it came off the airplane during the takeoff roll. So they brought it back around, and they held for a while to burn off fuel. I'm not sure if they dumped fuel. Maybe they did, because I believe the 767-300 does have fuel dumping capability. And they landed back at Calgary, and let's see. Canadian TSB reported that maintenance replaced the axle, brake, and the remaining 3 wheels. The TSB wrote, the errant wheel had damaged a runway sign and was located in the grass on the east side of the runway near the threshold of runway 17 left. The wheel bearing components have been obtained by the TSB for further examination. So something wasn't right about that. The wheels are supposed to stay on after you lift off. So
that tire looks in quite good nick. I expect some Boeing will be using it again, won't they?
Yes, I believe so.
Now,
right.
Here's a question for Matt. Now, Matt, you do a bit of, you both probably do a bit of plane spotting, don't you? I mean, do you ever worry about things coming careering through the fence at you, when you're spotting them?
Ironically, no, is the short answer, because I like to think that they're incredibly well maintained, and therefore things like that are incredibly unlikely to happen. So,
you must be watching a lot of Airbuses then.
I'm not really sure how I can answer that.
Don't answer it. It won't be right, no matter what you say.
Yeah, whatever I say, the answer will be wrong. Yes. Yes.
All right.
I either upset the host or I upset Nick. It's a trick.
Oh, you can't upset me. I don't care.
As pilots, we all do walk rounds, so we all know our aircraft are fantastic before we fly them.
This is one of those things where you look at a wheel, and I'm sure it looked like it always does, and unless you can somehow peer into the wheel bearings, there's no way that you're going to know that.
Well, he was probably negligent when he did his walk around. He forgot to kick it.
Good point. If he had kicked that big giant tire, I'm sure that he would have noticed.
It would have wobbled, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to kick the Cessna 150 tires.
Yeah, they might explode. Yeah.
I would imagine the tire on that has got to be at least waist high, right? Like 4 feet high or so, something like that. At least.
Yeah, I'd have thought.
Yeah. I think I have bigger tires on my coach. To be fair,
Really, you might. I don't know. There's no reference there to the picture that we're looking at. By the way, this is from that wonderful website, the Aviation Herald. And we use it a lot on this show, and I'm sure you guys do as well, for aircraft incidents and accidents and other strange things going on in the commercial aviation world. Anyway,
there's not a lot of tread on the tire, but there you go.
Pardon me?
I just noticed there's not an awful lot of tread left on that tire, but
no,
it might be just the way the picture's been taken.
Oh, you'd be surprised. That looks pretty good. I think it'll get a few more landings out of that.
Yeah, really. That actually doesn't look too bad. Anyway, moving on to another incident in the Aviation Herald. And yes, it's another Swiss Boeing 777-300 near Iqaluit, I think, or Iqaluit. Okay. I even looked up the pronunciation on that, and I heard several different variations. On the 1st of February, engine automatically shut down in flight. A Swiss Global Airlines 777 was heading from Zurich, Switzerland to Los Angeles, California, and was en route at flight level 320, about 200 nautical miles north of
Iqaluit.
Thank you. I'm in a little bit earlier than that, but I'll fix that in post. When the left-hand engine, a GE90, I'm sure that Nick will like to point out, showed a fault and shut down automatically, the flight crew drifted the aircraft down, diverted to Iqaluit, thank you, for a safe landing about 100 minutes later. The airline confirmed an indication of the fault of the left-hand engine caused an automatic shutdown of the engine, which actually, in reading a little bit more of this article, it really wasn't like the system determined that there was some kind of a problem and just automatically shut the engine down. It turns out that the engine did shut itself down, but it wasn't demanded by any kind of computer logic. It was an angle gearbox connecting the gearbox to the N2 rotor cracked, causing the gearbox to disengage. As a result, the high-pressure fuel pumps were no longer operating, causing the engine to shut down due to fuel starvation. Not fuel exhaustion, fuel starvation. An engine restart was not attempted in consultation with dispatch and maintenance due to ACAR's messages indicating activation of the magnetic chip detector. That's a detector that detects in the oil perhaps metal pieces or shavings, which is indicative of the engine starting to fall apart. So they made the decision not to restart the engine, which is a good one, because there's no way they could have restarted it because there was no fuel pressure going to it. And they landed at
Iqaluit.
Thank you. In the extreme northern reaches of the beautiful country of Canada. And
it used to be called Frobisher Bay.
Yeah. Why?
They renamed a lot of their airfields after the traditional. I don't know what.
The native Canadians.
Yes.
The native people.
Yes, exactly.
The
indigenous people.
Yes, the indigenous people. Very good. So anyway, that airplane was stuck there for a while. They were trying to turn around at some kind of a turnaround at the end of the runway, and they couldn't make it all the way around, so they had to wait for about an hour for a tug to get them. They moved it off the runway. The runway was closed for a little bit, and then they sent a recovery airplane, of course, to the rescue. It was an Airbus 330. And they were able to get it was kind of a goat rope. It was they only have one set of air stairs. That's for you, Jen. There at this fine city, and so they had to get everybody off the air stairs and then into buses, and then they moved over to the Airbus that they brought in, and then moved the air stairs over to the Airbus, and then put everybody on the Airbus and got them back to their to Zurich, I guess, where they started. Weren't they? Yeah, isn't that where they started? I think they were going to Los Angeles.
Charlie, you've got to love the maintenance tent. They've got the photographs they've got on all the Aviation Herald. This tent they've put around the engine nacelle and the actual engine housing and stuff. That's very good.
It's
keeps
it's purpose made. Obviously, it's a very apparently very cold there, and we've been talking in the APG PTUK AvGeek BFFs chat about this incident the past several days about the what was it, an AN-124 that flew in with this equipment and a new engine and such to replace the engine. Anyway, it's been pretty interesting to follow, and as Carla said, pretty impressive insulated, whatever you call it, tent system around it. But they finally got it out of there several days later, and it's now probably flying in commercial service again, I would imagine.
I must admit, having done a similar route very many times, I'm just a trifle surprised they went into Iqaluit. It is such a remote airfield, and there's so few facilities there that I think I would have been personally tempted to carry on a little further south and go somewhere that was a little better served. So, because it wasn't like the thing was on fire. It wasn't like it was an emergency diversions. Get it on the ground ASAP, I suspect. I don't know. It depends what their company policy was. But if it was just straightforward fuel starvation and the engine wound down without any significant damage or, other concerns, I might have carried on down to Goose, which would have been better, perhaps. I don't know.
What are the issues if you do end up having to do an emergency landing at perhaps a smaller airport where it hasn't got the kit? I mean, do they have to literally ferry all the equipment required to wherever it is that it landed? Or it's not like you can just run it up the road on a lorry, is it? I mean,
well, that's exactly right, and it's the wrong time of the year to be going into somewhere like that, Matt, because the roads will be very heavily contaminated with snow. The airport itself will be pretty, tricky to land on at times, depending on the conditions. So you'd have to fly everything in, and you'd have to fly your passengers out if, as they did. It would be a lot easier to go to perhaps to an airfield that was a little further south, a little better off.
Probably less expensive as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know what their reading was, so I'm double guessing, really.
Looks like the AN-124, the Aleutian that brought in, the Antonov that brought in the stuff, departed after about 3 hours and flew to East Midlands. Is that anywhere where you all are there?
Well, sort of like the middle. It's probably about 200 miles from us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sort of in the middle of the UK, as where we're sort of in the east. So
okay,
Far East.
Like Asia.
Well, yeah.
It probably takes as long from where Nick lives to get to us. He might as well have flown to the Far East. Is how long it's going.
Anyway, I'll put that link in the show notes. They also have within that article a nice couple of links to YouTube showing the Antonov 124 arriving, and also the Swiss flight landing as well. So lots of plane spotters there apparently.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, I don't know. Very, very strange.
Nothing much else happens, I expect.
Yeah, it's probably a pretty big deal, wasn't it? I think they said that their customs systems is set up for like 15 passengers at a time.
Oh my goodness! Can you imagine?
That's why they kept everybody on the 777 to begin with, and then moved them over to the Airbus 330 without having to, engage in the customs immigration hassle, which was probably a good decision. Although those poor passengers, having endured all that flying, ended up back to where they started. Almost a day later, I think.
Well. Didn't that 330 take them on to LA then?
Oh, okay. Well, maybe
I don't know. I was surprised. I would have been surprised. But
maybe it did. Maybe that was just the 777 that maybe made it to Los Angeles.
No,
I'm sorry. It went to New York. It looks like. Okay, and then they probably got them on. Okay, here it says the passengers were rebooked onto direct flights to their ultimate destination. Okay, good. That's a better story. A better ending.
I like that one.
And then finally, an Aerolineas Argentina Airbus A330-200 flying on flight 1301 from New York to John F. Kennedy to Buenos Aires. Aziza? Is that the way you say that?
I can't help you there.
Was accelerating for takeoff from John F. Kennedy's runway 31 left when the crew rejected takeoff at low speed after the right-hand engine, which was a Pratt & Whitney 4168, emitted a loud bang. The crew of another aircraft reported seeing the right-hand engine on fire. The Aerolineas crew reported they had no fire indication, which makes sense because the fire was coming out the back, and there's not any kind of a fire detection system that would indicate it, because there's supposed to be a fire at the back of an engine. The aircraft stopped on the runway. Emergency services responded, and then the Aerolineas crew reported they had shut down the engine. There was no fire indication. They just had a minor explosion. So, you got to watch out for those minor explosions. And we have a little bit of audio for you to listen to if you want to hear this minor explosion. Here we go. This first one that I'm going to play is from inside the aircraft itself. Okay. So it almost sounded like a cannon shot.
Yeah.
It sounded like the galley wasn't very well secured.
Yeah, it sounded like things were...
Trolleys are rolling around all over the place.
I think it sounds like they're them doing an emergency stop and everything rattling like crazy. Here's another one. This one was actually recorded away from the airplane off the side of the runway.
It just sounds like he dropped his phone.
Yeah, it does.
It does look like he dropped it. Yeah.
But you should watch the YouTube video because it's quite spectacular. The spray of sparks and everything coming out from that engine. Something tells me this is more than just a compressor stall.
The picture you've got in your show notes here in the Evernote thing is, as you say, it almost looks like they've thrown a load of Christmas tree lights all over the fuselage just to sort of, it looks very pretty.
It is very, very beautiful.
That's right. All those expensive blades, Pratt & Whitney blades, melting and disappearing out the back. Notice they didn't have Rolls Royces on them, so that's probably the reason.
Exactly.
Oh, here we go.
Yep. There you go. Because those Rolls Royce engines, those Trent 900s, they never have a problem.
No.
Very well behaved.
It's interesting that at that speed, of course, when they rejected the takeoff, the max order brake would not have engaged. So if the crew just closed the throttles, it would have been quite a gentle maneuver for the passengers. So no one would have been thrown around. The below 72 knots, the max order brake is not engaged. So if you do a low-speed rejection, it's relatively mild, and you can just bring the aircraft to a halt using the foot brakes. Excellent.
So I guess they were maybe a little bit hard on the binders there that caused all that shaking in the airplane. But who's to know?
I'm assuming. I guess someone jumped on the brakes a bit hard, probably.
Yeah, I would imagine it would be quite a shock.
Yeah,
hear that explosion and then
and then lots of dinging.
Yeah,
ding 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 ding.
Is that normal? No. Anyway, so that's all I have for the news. Anything else to add, folks, before we move on to the best part of the show, which of course is your feedback?
Carry on, Jeff.
All right, here we go.
Captain, incoming message.
All right, let us start with the APG 259 folder, which I'm now selecting. Here we go. Speaking of rattling, we just talked about the sounds of a rattling fuselage interior or cabin interior. Lee writes, a question regarding the feedback on the A319 incident in the link above. So he gave us a link to a flightglobal.com article. regarding and we talked about this incident about the inadvertent flap retraction on an EasyJet flight, and I believe that was also around the time of another EasyJet flight that had done a very similar thing, and we discussed it quite a bit on the show. But this new link, this article, talked about the fact that the airplane, the center console, was rattling quite a bit during the takeoff roll, and I believe it says that the first officer was basically putting his hand on the console right below the where the throttles are to try to stifle the sound of the rattling, and they're thinking that because of this, that might have been enough of a distraction that when the captain called for the gear to be placed to the up position, the first officer instead activated the flap handle and retracted the flaps to 0. And of course, they had a handful there because the airplane now, with a radically changed wing, was not flying as well as it should at that speed, and the captain had to lower the nose and basically recover the airplane. Luckily, he did without crashing the airplane. And so I guess the question from Lee is regarding this rattling. He said, if you heard a rattling in the center console on your plane, would you not investigate the issue a bit more? Maybe call in maintenance to confirm everything's working properly? It just seems with all the electronics and motors in these consoles, it would be something you would notice and want to have it checked out. Also, would this be something that you would note in a log on the plane so the next pilots would know if the issue was not fixed? Is it normal to hear rattling in your cockpits? Okay, now let all the jokes begin about my ancient Mad Dog airplane. I thought maybe Jeff's plane might have some rattles here and there. I'm not sure if it's just the airplane making all those noises or me. Anyway, we're interested to know how this would be handled in general aviation aircraft as well. So let me just put in my little 2 cents here. I've flown a bunch of different airplanes in my life, and they all, to a certain extent or another, sometimes have rattles that kind of creep up, just like your car. And it just really depends on the particular airplane itself, and yeah, the older they are, the more likely it is that these finishings and joints and all that kind of stuff are going to probably end up rattling a bit. And I don't know, do you ever have that? You probably don't have that problem at all with your Airbus, do you, Nick?
Well, not usually. I mean, occasionally add a loose component on the center console. The classic one would be the printer, because they're not the most reliable of bits of kit, and they're frequently changed. And they, like most of the components in the center console, the console itself is just a metal framework, and all the various boxes that we use are dropped in from above. And then they're secured usually by 4 little screws, which are just given a half turn because they're not proper screws, they're little connectors. So sometimes the guy will be in there messing about with the printer, trying to get it to go again, and he'll go, it's working now, fine. And he'll step away from it and forgot to turn those little screws half a turn just to secure it. Now, the weight of the box will keep it in place, but when you're on a bit of a rough runway, and I noticed they're getting airborne from Bristol. I hadn't worked out of Bristol, but I know it's not a particularly swept up airfield. I might be doing it a disservice. I don't know, Bristol Field.
All it sounds, you're talking about printers, all it sounds like you need is a jolly good technician. That's all you need.
That's probably right.
Technician who knows how to replug the USB cable. That's all that's required.
There you go.
So Matt, you're with your job of driving coaches, do you always drive the same motor coach, or do you sometimes drive ones that are a little bit older, or maybe not quite as high quality as some others, or how does that all
I mean, we do, the firm that I work for, we do have some older coaches. I mean, some of our coaches, a couple of our coaches are like 30 years old, but they're maintained to such an incredible standard. I mean, Carlos can vouch for this. I mean, the one I was in the other day where I saw Carlos, and that was 30 years old, but you look at it and it doesn't look like it's that, so I think it's like most things. If it's well maintained, I don't think it really makes a lot of difference. I'm quite lucky in the fact that I drive quite a modern coach. The one that I drive at the moment is really nice, and we have a policy where we tend to only drive the same vehicle, and a lot of that is more because if you're driving the same vehicle, and I dare say it's the same if you've got your own general aviation plane, you get to know when something doesn't feel or sound right. As where if we were hopping into different vehicles all day every day, then a knock or a noise would perhaps be dismissed. But as I say, because we drive the same vehicle day in day out, it's from a maintenance point of view, you think that thrust bearing sounds a bit noisy, the clutch probably needs looking at, or things like that. Hopefully meaning that you don't have any downtime or you're broken down with passengers or anything like that. I mean, I've worked for the company that I work for, a company called Lambert's, which is based here in Beccles. I've worked for them for 8 years, and I've only had my vehicle let me down once in 8 years, which I think's pretty good, really. And it's all down to really incredible maintenance. I mean, the guy in our workshop is forever, working on them. But I mean, it's the same with aviation, isn't it? If you look after the thing, if it's well maintained, if it's got a high threshold of regular maintenance, and I do mean maintenance rather than going in for repairs, you find things before little niggles become a serious problem, I think.
You should try flying the Cessna 150 that I'm learning to fly, and that's a 1967 vintage, and not so much on takeoff, but when you land the aircraft at the airfield where I learned to fly at, the runway is well maintained, but it has a few holes. And if you get and Nick and Jeff, you'll know, with the shimmy with the front wheel on the Cessna, and if you get that shimmy after you've landed, and it reverberates through the whole of the cockpit of the Cessna, and 9 times out of 10, the whole of the instrument panel will vibrate, and you just sit there holding onto the control column, watching all these dials shaking in front of you, thinking which one's going to fall out on my lap next. But they don't. They stay in their place. So
love it.
1967. That's even
well maintained.
Mad Dog. I can't believe it.
But I'll tell you what, Jeff. I soloed in that aircraft, and honestly, they are really well looked after.
Yeah,
they're fantastic training aircraft.
Yep, I have some time in those Cessna 150s and 152s.
I don't think there's a pilot in the land who hasn't spent at least some time in a Cessna. They seem to be they seem to be a sort of like a good training craft, I think.
Yes, they are. They are indeed. So anyway, so that was a good question regarding shimmies and shakes in airplanes. And yes, it can be a distraction. But you just, most of us, we are trained to eliminate distractions like that and focus on the important performance parameters when we're doing our takeoff. I had an interesting thing just this morning. We were rolling down, and we were between the low and high speed range of our takeoff roll, and all of a sudden I see this yellow warning light flashing. It wasn't red, and there was no noise being made, which is something that really gets our attention. And I looked up and saw that our mid-cargo compartment door light annunciator was on, and we are told to disregard that. It doesn't matter, because these are doors that should seal when pressurization reaches a certain what is it, delta P, and I think that and also when we were leaving, when we were about to push back, that same light was on, and then one of the ramp workers went back there and reclosed the door. So I have a feeling what the issue is. The switch that activates that annunciation was like a little out of kilter and needs to be adjusted so that you don't get that nuisance light in the future. But that's something that can really throw you off. You're really concentrating on several different parameters as you're rolling down the runway. It's a critical time, and when you see some kind of a warning, it's like, what's that? Do I need to abort? And I immediately saw it was a door, and I went, nope, door. You keep going. So, and of course, it extinguished itself after we got airborne.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What? Just because it reseals due to the air pressures, or just?
The doors on the cargo doors, all the doors on the airplane that I fly are pressure doors that are seated more firmly when pressurization is on the jet.
Wow.
So,
yeah, you don't sort of really think that. As I say, it must be so distracting if you're literally sort of about to put the lever down and go full throttle, and then suddenly, as you say, you see out of the corner of your eye a thing. It must be so difficult not to immediately react and just kill everything.
And that's why when we go to our periodic simulator sessions, that they do things like this, and they re-emphasize the point that this is what you would abort for at this speed regime, and above this speed regime, then the only thing you're going to abort for is something very, very serious. And so we do it every 6 months, 9 months, year, over and over again. And so our training kicks in that case, and we look up, and it's immediately what happened with me. I saw, it was a door indication, no problem, I'm not going to abort, I'm going to continue the takeoff. And if it's still on, then we deal with it once we are safely airborne and the airplane configuration is clean, and we have everything under control.
In our aircraft, Matt, a lot of these cautions and warnings are suppressed above a certain speed, so that you don't get them coming onto the strength. So anything that's of an insignificant nature won't actually even appear on the warning displays until you're safely airborne and gone through that critical period, and then they will come up and tell you that there was a minor problem during the takeoff run, and you're now safe to deal with it.
That's a great
system. So, I mean, what happens just out of for argument's sake? What about if that warning came on or while you were in flight? So you're up to speed and you're sort of mid-flight, and then you get the warning. Do you still ignore it? I mean, at what point does a loose door become an issue?
Well, at that point, you would pull out the quick reference handbook, the QRH, and find the appropriate enunciation that you're seeing, and you go to that page and you just go through the steps in the QRH procedure. And in this case, in the airplane that I fly, it is 99.9% likely or higher that the issue is not the door open, actually. I mean, because it would be almost physically impossible for that door to be open because of the way it's designed.
Okay. The pressures and
you would just write it up. You'd say, we got the door enunciation in flight, and then the mechanics would take a look at it, and if there was not enough time for the mechanics, the technicians, to go out and readjust the switch that gives you that indication, that would be a carryover item. And one of the things, and I've flown airplanes like this before, where there was a write-up that says that your air stair door or your aft cargo door open indication is on when the door is actually closed. And what we have to do is, before each flight, after everything is loaded, somebody on the ground has to go out there and confirm that the door is indeed closed, and then you basically ignore that light.
And I'm assuming, Nick, in your case, a lot of these systems are sort of digital signals as opposed to sort of analog. Because the Mad Dog, I understand this.
It's all the same basic system. We rather than a micro switch, probably, which is on Jeff's airplane, we've got proximity sensors. We just have to be close to each other to show that it's closed. And but it still goes, rather than going straight to a light bulb, it just goes to a computer that says, if this says the circuit is open, put up this message. That's the only real difference. It's the very similar system. Yeah. And we have the same as Jeff's attitude. Our warnings say, if you get a door warning light in flight, so long as there are no other symptoms, the aircraft isn't depressurized, then the aircraft is going to be safe. The door hasn't actually opened. So you just carry on and write it up, and they look at it when you're on the ground.
Cool.
Exactly. Good stuff. All right. Well, thanks, Lee, for your question regarding rattling consoles. Mohammed writes, Salamu alalkum, Captain Jeff.
Salam alaikum.
Oh, thank you.
Salam alaikum.
Wow.
To which I would say, alaikum salam, Mohammed.
There you go. I guess that means peace be upon in Arabic. And he says, oops, please don't kick me off the Acme flight.
Oh, no.
It's a phrase we often use. It's a bit like when you're going through Italian airspace, you always say ciao. When you're going through a place with the Muslim country, you often say Salam Alaikum, or they'll say it to you and you return it the other way around. Alaikum Salam.
Well, I learn something new every single day. Thank you very much.
Every day is a school day, isn't it?
It is. It actually really is. Anyway, so Mohammed writes, he said, I'm Mohammed Fall, and I'm a low-time private pilot student from Senegal, West Africa. I said, don't worry, I don't expect you to know much about this country nor how to pronounce it. Well, I've heard of Senegal, and I know exactly where it is, too. So
it's in West Africa.
Yes. I've been listening to your show for 2 years, but I've always been lazy to send you feedback. However, I could not resist since I'm today bringing the proof that chemtrails do exist.
Oh,
so
dear.
He gave us a link to a YouTube video, and he says, starting at 3 minutes, 30 seconds. And when I put the link in the show notes, it'll have the actual time code all set up for you. So when you click on it, it'll go right to that point. And you'll just have to watch it, because it's one of those things where it's just the audio is just some kind of a musical soundtrack. So I don't want to explain it to you on the audio podcast. So check it out. I'll put that link in the show notes. And he continues, you as well as Dr. Steph in Miami, Rick, don't have to worry, since the airplane involved in doing the chemtrail mixing, mass sterilization, population control, and mind manipulation is an Airbus. So I suspect an old and white bearded pilot to be guilty of chemtrailing us. I suspect you're right, Mohammed.
Yeah, probably. I don't get told, or at least if I do, I'm not allowed to tell you, Mohammed.
Yeah, we can't really talk too much about that.
If I told you, they'd shoot me.
Well, that's cheery. Yeah.
Hey, by the way, I should say to Carlos and Matt and also Captain Nick, but I know that Nick is used to staying up late. If you all need to get up early in the morning and you can't stay with us for the entire show, feel free to leave anytime you want or need to.
Oh, good. I've only got a gig to do tomorrow night. And that's not till tomorrow night, so.
Okay, well then I'll expect you to be here the entire time. How about you, Anna? You have to get up early?
All good here. All good here. It's
okay,
fine.
Good. I just wanted to make sure everything was okay with you guys. But
yeah, fine. Fine.
Okay, excellent. Mina writes, my name is Mina. I'm a current freshman at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. I've always dreamed of flying. I have just a couple of questions. Does it matter where I go to college and get an aerospace degree? Do I need to get an aerospace degree with a pilot's program, or just a normal aerospace degree? How long does it take to become an airline pilot? And what should I do right now to get to fly as soon as I can out of college? Thank you so much. Well, let me first tell you, Mina, you don't need an aerospace degree to be a pilot. Right?
I haven't got one.
I don't have one either. I have an aviation management degree. I fly with people that have degrees in business, have degrees in all sorts of things, engineering degrees, but it's not a prerequisite to become a pilot. And even, I would argue that even a college degree, it really doesn't necessarily need to be a prerequisite to do what we do for a living. It's just that the airlines like to see that kind of thing on the applications of folks that are wanting to fly for them, because it shows that they have a certain amount of motivation and ambition and know that they have to do certain things to get, the right boxes to check to get to have a better chance of being hired, etc. It's clearly, I think, Nick, you would agree with me that being an airline pilot doesn't necessarily require that you have that piece of paper that says you have a college degree.
No, certainly, I didn't have a degree. So, and there are a number of pilots I fly with who are in the same boat as myself. They came straight out of school with a few O levels, a couple of A's. I don't know what the equivalent in the States would be, but that's it. Before you go on to further education, they've left and become pilots. I left and joined the Air Force. So that was me into aviation, and you definitely don't need one. Now, some airlines will ask you to have one, and they will certainly give preference for the very good reasons that Jeff say, but not everyone. And if you build up enough experience with a small airline that doesn't require that, eventually you'll get into a bigger airline, because they'll say, well, you've got a lot of experience, you're obviously keen and motivated, and we'll take you on.
I know Nick's route was through the Air Force to sort of like, you know, getting his pilot license, for want of a better word. I mean, what was your route, Jeff? Which way did you go to end up flying the Mad Dog?
I started 2 weeks after I graduated from college, and I did get a degree in aviation management. And Aerosavvy, Ken Hoke, in the chat room says he got his BS degree in aviation administration, and he says with an emphasis on BS.
Capital letters there, obviously.
Yes, I guess it stands for a Bachelor of Science.
Yeah, yes, of course. Yeah,
but so I did get a degree in an aviation-related field, but then 2 weeks after I graduated, I was being sworn into the United States Air Force and went through the officer training school program. By the way, in the United States, for the most part, there are some exceptions, but most officers in the Air Force and in the Marine Corps and Navy, you have to have a college degree to be an officer.
Right.
We do have certain rank, like warrant officers and that kind of thing, that don't require that. But so that was like, you know, if you want to go into the Air Force and be an officer of course, if you want to fly in the Air Force, you have to be an officer, and to be an officer, you have to have a college degree. So you can see that was just, for me, a prerequisite. And so that's what I did. I learned how to fly basically in the U.S. Air Force.
Yeah, of course,
and then I got out and then got hired by Acme a little bit more than 28 years ago. But I was going to say to Mina, I think the important thing is, I mean, I think it's good to have a degree and that you should pursue that. But you don't necessarily have to get it in aerospace. If I would say that I would get my degree in something that would be something that you'd want to do for a living if you couldn't become a pilot, because that's a kind of a plan B, a backup plan for, you know, if you have some kind of a health issue, or perhaps, you know, as much as you want to be a pilot, maybe you don't have the skills necessary to get beyond a certain point. And if that's the case, it's good to have that degree in something that you can use. And of course, even if you do become a pilot and you have a college degree in something and you can't pass your physical or whatever, it's nice to have something to back you up, and something that you have an interest in and a passion in. So that's what I would say.
How often do you have to have your medicals, Jeff?
When you start out, and it may be different than the UK and Europe, but here in the United States, every year, and then, that's the way it used to be. I'm not sure if that's changed or not. And then every 6 months for a Class 1 medical. It used to be when I was a co-pilot and I did not have an airline transport pilot license. The requirement was just once every year, and so after the 6 month period, the Class 1 physical would revert basically to a Class 2, and then the next year, then you'd get your physical and you'd be back on a Class 1 again. I think that's the way it works. I could be wrong about that, but for me now, after a certain age, it's every 6 months. So it's, I think, starting at age 40, I believe, here, that you have to have a Class 1 medical certificate or Class 1 physical every 6 months.
And is it the same in the UK, Nick?
I'm sorry, I was answering a question on the
physical requirements. How often do you have to go and get your physical for your flying physical?
Below the age of 60, it's every year, and above, it's every 6 months.
Okay, so it's a different requirement then, as far as age in the UK than it is for EASA than it is for the FAA.
Wow. So,
and then for me, every other physical for me, the cycle is the month of February. So in fact, just in a few days, I'm going to go in for my FAA physical, and I require an electrocardiogram. I think that's what the EK stands for, right?
Yeah.
EKG, the heart exam, and then the one that I do in August in another 6 months will be I won't require the EKG test, and that's just the way.
So sort of periodic testing for
and again, that's above a certain age as well. But now that I'm thinking about it, most of the pilots at Acme now have airline transport pilot ratings, and they're type rated in the airplane. And I'm not sure if that changes the requirement for the medicals as far as how often they have to go. Again, I'll have to look that up. I'm not sure. But anywho, so that's my advice. Mina, any other advice for her before we move on? Okay. This is a good one. Let's see, who sent this to me? I should, Jeff in Minneapolis. Jeff is a very funny guy. He said, "Hey, Captain Jeff and crew. Last night, my buddy sent me the pictures for Throwback Thursday, I think he means to say. Back in 2003, we noticed that the Acme Mad Dog fleet was getting very old and outdated. So we attempted to build a more advanced airplane from PVC, 2x4s, nylon, and clothesline. I think the design was too advanced for Acme, so they decided to keep the Mad Dogs flying another 15 years. And so he has this picture here. Let's see, I could probably share that. I'm not going to do that.
It's an awesome picture.
Yeah, it looks more like the Wright Flyer than it does a modern airliner. So very, very funny.
It's not without its charm. I'm not sure how comfortable, given that I'm nervous about flying. I'm not entirely sure how comfortable I would feel, or indeed with me sat on it, whether it'd ever get off the ground, to be fair.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Matt, I would not be very comfortable sitting and flying this either.
I like the way the guy flying it's got a whole bunch of sort of, I guess that's ice hockey knee guards. And
he's come prepared.
Well armored.
And let's see, plywood rudder pedals.
Looks very safe. What can I say? I can't wait for my first transatlantic flight on one of those. It's going to be great.
It's going to be a little chilly. Make sure you bundle up.
Okay.
So
I'm well insulated. It'll be fine.
Very funny, Jeff McFeeders. Very funny. Yeah. Hey, we have some great audio feedback. This was sent in. I don't know if you've heard of this guy. Apparently, he listens to our show on occasion. His name is Micah.
Hey.
Main man Micah.
Hey.
He said, "Hey, Jeff, Steph, Nick, and Rick, if you still get this. Just had a terrific meetup with Rick Bell. The Mexican food was terrific, and the company was even better. I used my iPhone and Shure Motive mic and software to record at the table. I did a few quick edits with Audacity, and here we are. In the interview, Rick talks a bit about his flying career and gives us a rundown of what's happening at Wings over Pittsburgh.
Ah, cool.
That is a rundown of the flying and aircraft displays. I didn't record about the after-hour parties and the golf cart jousting. Ooh.
Hello. That needs further investigation.
It sounds like it's going to be a great time from every perspective. Nick, oh, this is interesting. We should be able to get you back into the cockpit of an F-18. I'm going to be away from the airport when that happens. And it's possible, though not for sure, and not mentioned during the interview, that we I'm wondering if this is something I should even be reading. Mike is probably yelling at me right now. You're not supposed to read this. Anyway, so it looks like there's all kinds of possible surprises and fun things to do that week, and hopefully Nick will be able to make it. He won't know until, I guess, very close to that date in May, which again is the 13th.
It'll be.
Yeah, the 13th and 14th of May is the actual air show, but media day is on Friday, the 12th of May. And so, anyway, I'm looking forward to mainly seeing all of you who plan on attending the air show, and then it'll be kind of fun to see some of the airplanes and that kind of thing too. So.
Yeah, I'm flying out there on the Friday, flying home on the Monday. So
okay. Well, let's take a listen to this interview that our main man Micah had with Captain Rick Bell.
Okay, this is Micah, and we're coming to you from South Portland, Maine, the El Rodeo Restaurant. And I'm sitting here across from not just a bowl of fresh tableside made guacamole, but across from Captain Rick Bell, who just flew into Portland, Maine today. And Rick, welcome to Portland.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Really happy to have you here. We're recording this for the Airline Pilot Guy, of course, which you're not only a fan of, but a big participant in. We need to know a little bit more about you. You've been flying for quite a while. Tell us a little bit about your flying history. How did you get into flying, and how did you become a pilot?
Oh, man. Kind of a long story, I guess. Not too long, I hope. Well, I started flying really young. My cousin actually gave me a ride in a Cessna way back when, and that was pretty much it. It got me hooked. So, I bothered my family and got lessons, and I guess one thing led to another, and found a school that I wanted to go to that, I wanted to learn how to fly. So I went to the local airport, started taking lessons, and did the whole solo at 16 and got my private pilot at 18, and ran off to Kent State University and started learning how to fly there. After a year and a half or whatever it is, 2 years, I went and enlisted in the Air Force. So I became a C-130 crew chief. So I was actually a C-130 maintenance. So I was for about 10 years. So a few deployments, the war kicked off right about that same time. So I had a few deployments under my belt, and I was still trying to go and take some sort of flying lessons, I guess. And it just really wasn't my cards. It was just too much going on at one time. So I just kind of hung up my wings at the time. I thought, well, that was going to be about it. And, my career was going to be in the Air Force and then, move on to something else. So I went to school at the University of Pittsburgh. I was actually working in the evenings at the Air Force Base as a C-130 maintainer. And then I was going to school for business, really. And got into my senior year. And the guys at the squadron said, hey, you should really put in your package to be a pilot. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough for that. But sure enough, I did. And they found it to be acceptable that, they wanted to hire me on as a pilot in the Air Force. So I was like, oh, this is great. So as soon as I graduated from college, they sent me off to pilot training and learned how to fly C-130s. And I've been doing it ever since. So I've been flying, I think, C-130s for 7 years now.
And then, so you flying C-130s, and how long have you been in the 130 right now?
So I've actually, my whole Air Force career was spent in C-130. I mean, in maintenance, but so I've been in the Air Force now for 15 years. So, but I've been flying them for, I guess it'd been going into my 7th year of flying the C-130s, or 6 years, I would think.
And then recently you transitioned into a commercial position, flying with a
Acme Junior, we'll call
Acme
it.
Junior, that's a good thing to say. Flying for Acme Junior, and what are you flying for them now?
Well, I started out flying Q400s, and
my favorite.
Now I'm on the Embraer, the 175s.
And how do you like the 175?
Oh, very nice. Yeah, very, very, very nice ride. It's a very easy airplane, so it does a lot for you. It's completely automated. It's a really pretty airplane, really nice to fly.
I know as a passenger, I've always loved the Jungle Jet, the E190. It's a very comfortable airplane.
Or the Guppy Killer, I think they call it too.
That's it. So let's talk about something else now, because you're working on a really amazing project, and this project is going to be probably a really incredible podcast. And that project is Wings Over Pittsburgh.
Yep, that's right.
Now, Wings Over Pittsburgh, it's taking place in May, and it's May
13th and 14th.
It's over the weekend. And what can you tell us about Wings Over Pittsburgh? What's on the agenda so far that we can know about?
Oh, man. All right, so that you can know about. Well, for the entire community, I'll let you guys in on a little secret. I will give you the initial lineup for the show. So right now, performer-wise, we have Team Oracle. We have Sean Tucker and Team Oracle in the pits. We're going to have Matt Chapman in his extra 300, I believe is what he's flying. We're going to have Randy Ball in a MiG-17. We're going to have the Ace Maker T-33. We're going to have Manfred Radius in his glider, which is an incredible show. It closely resembles Bob Hoover's energy neutral, routine, and it's really incredible to watch him perform. I'm really excited about this.
Energy neutral, for those who aren't necessarily listening, means that he's going to be doing a gliding routine that is going to be as acrobatic a routine as anything that you might see powered.
Absolutely.
But it's going to be a gliding routine.
Yeah, it's going to be glider. There's no engine, nothing. He's going to get towed in, and he does an entire aerobatic routine, loops and barrel rolls and everything else, and with no engine.
And currently he's being towed in by a pretty special airplane too, isn't
Yeah, my buddy's Super Cub is actually going to be bringing him in. So my buddy's dad, Super Cub, is actually going to be towing him in, who is the director of the show.
That sounds great.
So, and then we obviously have the United States Air Force Thunderbirds. You know, they're going to be coming. That's our big headline act. We have the United States Navy West Coast Super Hornet demonstration team coming to the show, which is going to be, the Navy has to be there too. And then what else? Oh yeah, I guess maybe I can drop the secret. I don't know when this is going to come out, but we were just told that we were also going to have the F-22 demonstration team coming to the show as well. It's going to be really exciting. So we have a huge lineup of people. So I know I'm missing some, but
and there'll be some big military static displays too, as well. Won't there?
Absolutely. So we're going to have C5. We're going to have B-52. We're going to have a B-1 bomber. We're going to have F-15 Strike Eagle, F-15C. We're going to have F-18s. We're going to have C-17s, C-130s, you name it, KC-135s. I think we're going to have a KC-10 there. So, I mean, it's just a wide range, a big gamut. Civilian acts, civilian statics, we're going to have the Spirit of Freedom, the C-54 from Berlin Airlift. We're going to have P-51, F-4U Corsair. I'm trying to think, DC-3, I believe, as well. And then a C-123 as well, so from the Air Heritage Museum.
Oh, that sounds great. And I think you had also mentioned that FedEx may be coming in with a, what did you say, a 757 and an A300?
Yeah, so FedEx is going to come in with their A300, and UPS is going to be there with their 757 or 767, one of the two.
Can't tell the difference from the cockpit.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Right. One has long legs. That's all I know. Yeah.
Rick, it is so great to finally meet you, and I can't wait for Wings Over Pittsburgh, and I hope everybody's going to be able to be there.
Oh, I hope everyone's going to be there. This is going to be a great time. So we'll definitely see everybody at Permane Brothers before the show.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Thank you, Micah, for that great interview. And thank you, Rick, for kind of giving us a little bit of a taste, a foretaste of the things to come.
That sounded like a good show, isn't it, Jeff?
Yeah, it sure is. I'm excited.
I'm really excited to see the B1, the bomber. That's going to be great.
Absolutely.
Oh, just saying, I've got the B1 watch. Does that qualify me to fly it?
Yeah, well, it's worth a try.
Don't think so. You're overqualified at everything, Nick. By the way, he mentioned the Permane brothers, or he said Permanes, but it's a famous institution in the Pittsburgh area, and the sandwiches there are beyond description. Yeah, that's all I have to say. It's very interesting the way they construct their sandwiches. It involves French fries, and it involves coleslaw, huge amounts of meat in between the buns, and lots of hands.
Meat between the buns. That sounds a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, well.
Family show.
Yes.
That's what she said.
All right.
Well, look, without Dr. Steph here, somebody has to make sure you lot behave.
Oh, come on. When the what is it? When the cat's away, the mice will play, or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
So you can be part.
That's not here.
Yeah, you can be one of the mice. Okay. Let's see. So I'm looking forward to, as I'm sure many of you listening, to the gathering at Wings Over Pittsburgh. Again, that's May 13th and 14th, the actual air show days. And we'll look forward to seeing you there if you can get there.
That'd be good.
Let's see. Larry writes in, he sent a link to this article about a rare 5-engine flight for Quantas. And this happened, I believe it was last January, talking about the certain 747s have that extra fifth pylon that will actually allow the fitting of an engine. And it looks kind of odd on the left wing. Instead of having 2 engines hanging on the wing, there are 3, one very close to the fuselage of the airplane, and there's a video that a link to a video that he included as well. So thanks, Larry. We'll put that in the show notes for those interested in seeing this strange looking occurrence when they actually hang an extra engine off the wing. Of course, it's not an operating engine; it's just there, and I think they do some aerodynamic fittings on it to make it as aerodynamic as possible. Anything else regarding that, folks?
I do think it's an engine. I think it's a nuclear bomb.
It could be. That's what they're calling it anyway.
I think that's what it is. And I think it's they can blow people up when they're not looking.
It very well could be.
The more and more I'm lucky enough to spend time with you, Nick, the more and more I do worry about some of the things that go in your head.
He's always the bearer of good news.
Yeah, there's some very dark things in that brain of yours, sir.
I'll tell you all about it one day.
Oh,
I don't want to.
I'll need to drink a lot more cider before I can handle that, I think. Yeah.
Probably.
Just for me personally, Nick, I just don't really want to know. All right. Hey, you may have heard of this guy. He also has a podcast, a fantastic aviation show called the Plane Safety Podcast. His name is Pilot Pip, and he sent us some feedback. I can't wait to hear what he has to say.
Hi guys, Pip here. Just taking a break from doing some DIY work, listening to episode 257. I've been sanding down a wooden staircase at home. I thought, hey, I could sand that thing down. It'll only take 1 hour, 2 hours tops. Yeah, that was about 3 months ago. I'm still working on it. Eesh, big mistake. Anyway, just catching up on the APG, and you guys were talking about fatigue and calling in sick, and I just wanted to chip in with a few thoughts. Now, Nick mentioned that calling in fatigue was a bit of a hassle for him, and I'm sorry to hear that, Nick. It really shouldn't be. You know, fatigue and fatigue risk is one of those buzzwords in the aviation industry right now. Airlines and regulatory authorities, EASA and the FAA, are putting in a lot of time and effort into developing fatigue risk strategies. So it should be a fairly simple, painless process, but perhaps for everyone it's not quite there yet. For me, for us at SafeJets, it's actually fairly simple. To call in sick is, well, you don't even need to call in. You don't even need to make a phone call. You can email in. We have a generic address. You just email in and say, I'm sick. And you'll automatically get taken off the duty roster. You'll have no flying, and you'll get an email back saying, okay, great, just let us know when you're feeling better. So that's super simple. And it's almost the same thing for calling in fatigued. Again, you can do it all electronically. You just email in and say, I'm fatigued, and you'll automatically be scheduled with a suitable rest period. So whether at home or you're off down route somewhere, you'll automatically get a 10, 11, 12-hour period of rest. The only thing that you'll have to do with the fatigue is at some point you'll need to fill in something called a fatigue report, which again can be done online. It's just a standard form you fill in, and you provide information such as how long your duty day was, how many sectors you flew, what time of day you were starting and finishing, and any other extenuating circumstances, such as poor sleep. You were at a hotel which was next to a nightclub and you couldn't sleep, or I don't know, your kids were sick at home and you were up all night looking after them, that sort of stuff. Now, that's pretty important that they have that information, because a lot of airlines these days have something called FRMS, Fatigue Risk Management System, which actually is a regulatory requirement these days. And what we have is an FRMS system. It has some fancy name, but it's a biomathematical model. Basically, it's a bit of software, an algorithm that runs alongside the scheduling software. And it looks at your duty periods. It looks at how many flights you're doing, what time of day it is, how much rest you've had in the previous duty periods, all that kind of stuff. And it allocates a fatigue risk score. So between 0 and 10 or something, it looks at your duty period and says, okay, this guy has a fatigue risk scoring of 6 or 4 or whatever the number is. And if it reaches a certain threshold, then it will automatically adjust your schedule to introduce a mitigating schedule. So it might give you a longer rest period the following day, or it might say, okay, this guy can only fly those first 2 flights instead of the 3 sectors that you're trying to schedule him, or something like that. But what it can't do is to account for those other factors, poor sleep, the hotel was too noisy, your kids are sick, all that kind of stuff. It can't obviously predict that sort of thing. So it's important that it has the data from the fatigue reports to be able to account for all that stuff. And more than that, the more data the model has, the better it will be. So, it's just a mathematical model. It can't account for everything. So the more data, the more fatigue reports that crews can send in, then the more they can develop and tweak the model to come out with a better, more accurate system. So I would suggest, if it's possible, if you are feeling fatigued and that's the reason you're calling in, then call in fatigued rather than calling in just sick. Just to get a better quality of data. On the sickness side, we've also just introduced some new system. I forget exactly what it's called. Some model developed by some psychologist somewhere. We have a fairly reasonable, generous sickness policy. I think we're allowed up to 14 days per year sick without having to justify it or without any financial penalty. So that's quite handy. And most people, 99% of people, use that in a very honest and genuine way. So if they're feeling sick, they can call in sick. There are, of course, though, some people who will see that 14 days as an allowance, as a right. They're allowed to take 14 days per year sick, therefore they're going to take 14 days per year sick. So we have this new system which supposedly can track a person's sickness habits and can tell whether they're BSing the system. Apparently we have one or two people, mostly on the cabin crew side, I'm led to believe, but we do have one or two people who can almost predict, like clockwork, when they're going to go off sick. So maybe, I don't know, they've got a week-long schedule starting on a Saturday. So therefore the schedulers know that guy or girl's going to call in sick on the Friday night so they can have the weekend off. So this new system supposedly it's very clever, and it can say, hey, this person's playing the system. But for most people, that's not necessary. They use it for what it was intended for. And there's absolutely no financial penalty for calling in sick. Myself, like Nick, and most European airlines, we're salary based. So, if we miss a day or two sick, there's going to be absolutely no financial penalty for that, which is quite nice, I think. Well, I guess that's all I really had to say about that. I better get back to this staircase. It's not going to sand itself. Oh, one other thing. New Zealand flyer, or sorry, I forget your name. The guy from New Zealand who called in last episode wanting some inappropriate pictures of you guys, Steph in a parachute harness and Nick in his underwear draped across a Phantom. Very disturbing images. But he also wanted a picture of Miami Rick, in some tight underwear and his lime green Speedos. Well, you're obviously not on Twitter, because go on Twitter, pal, and there are pictures aplenty of Rick in tight underwear, usually in the gym pumping iron. It's all very disturbing.
Very disturbing.
Agreed.
So Miami Rick, if you're listening, stop posting selfies. You're scaring the children.
Yeah, stop pumping.
All right, guys, that's it. Nick, by the way, I'm using for the first time the little microphone that you gave me for Christmas, the portable one that you can plug into your iPhone. Thank you very much for that. It's very nice little dandy piece of equipment. I hope the sound quality is okay. So take care, everyone. Catch up with you all some other time. Bye for now.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's better than the one I bought as a replacement.
Oh no! Oh no!
Damn.
Did he say something about green? Rick was going green or something.
Green? Did he say green?
I think he said green.
Okay, well, keep vamping for me until I can find this.
What was that about green?
We're going green. We're going green. We're gonna take care of the earth. We're going green. We're going green. We're going green. We're gonna take care of the earth.
We're going green.
We had to get it in somewhere in the
Thank
show,
you.
Jeff.
You know, it's been a while since I played that. I haven't had an excuse to do that.
Yeah, he didn't even have it loaded in his desk. He had to.
No, I was trying to figure out where that was. All right. So, Pip, thanks for always taking the time to send in feedback to all of these aviation shows. It's really appreciated. And of course, your show itself is just amazing. I always enjoy seeing that in the podcast lineup whenever you put one out. It's you always have me laughing. And
I must admit, it's a very, very popular part of our show is the little segment he does for us most weeks. He doesn't always get one to us every week, sadly, but yeah, it's he's a very knowledgeable guy, isn't he? It's quite a nice sort of take on it, looking at it from the sort of safety side of the cockpit, as it were. It's very interesting.
It is, and I guess he does so much research that he actually sounds like he knows what he's talking about. So.
Yeah, it sounds like he might actually know. Yeah, he sounds like he might actually care. It's brilliant.
How does he do that?
I don't know.
I think it's more of that BS thing that we were talking about earlier.
Yes. We've all met Pip, and
he's got a Bachelor of Science in.
That's the one. Yeah, that's exactly where I was going with that. Yeah, we'll go with it. Yeah.
Hey, speaking of knowing things, you, Carlos, and Matt might know something about this. This is something that was sent in by Liz, and it regards the new Amazon Prime Air. And I have a feeling that you guys may have been talking about this within the last few hours today.
Ah, right.
On your own show. Yeah. Looks like Amazon is looking to do some expansion at Charlotte's airport as part of their strategy of adding more airplanes and service to their own private Amazon Prime. What do you know about this?
Well,
don't anybody jump in.
Yeah, it's.
Well, no, they are expanding. I know they're expanding their hubs to have more warehouse, but they obviously need more space to house all these amazing Boeing aircraft that they're obviously using to ferry all this freight around. And obviously Amazon are growing and growing so much now. They're so huge. I mean, me and Matt both know we both use Amazon all the time. Yeah. And yeah, I think they're increasing the size of the hub there, or their hubs or various hubs and that in the US.
Well, and the story we read out on our show earlier was that Amazon is to build a giant $1.5 billion cargo hub in Kentucky.
Yeah, in Kentucky.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I mean, I said on this show. I mean, Carlos was saying we both use Amazon, and you know, we do earn money from people buying stuff through Amazon. But I do get very nervous about one carrier sort of doing it all. If you see what I mean. So you know. From you placing the order to coming out, it being all Amazon. I mean, one of my friends works for a local delivery company, and they always used to have, they used to use third-party carriers for delivering their goods. And I don't know. I can understand why they want to put it under all on one umbrella, but I just get very nervous when such a big player becomes so dominant, I suppose, in the marketplace. It just makes me nervous.
Well, I'm wondering if how this is going to affect the big freight carriers, FedEx and UPS in our country, and I'm wondering also if Amazon had some trouble with its own leased airplanes, if they could still go to FedEx and UPS at certain points and say, hey, can we have you help us out with this kind of thing, if how they're going to react in that point, if that ever came.
Yeah. It was saying the e-commerce giant has secured 900 acres of land in Kentucky that will one day be home to 40 Amazon Prime airplanes, 16 of which are currently in service.
Very interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this works out for this major online retailer that most of us use. I mean, I order stuff from Amazon all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I love their video service is something that I've started using, because I'm a big fan of three guys that used to be on the BBC here with a little show called Top Gear, and that all sort of fell out, and Amazon Prime have spent an absolute fortune on this particular show, and I have to say it was brilliant. So I mean, it's the only reason I have Prime membership. So.
May I recommend something to you? I don't know if you'd like it or not, Matt. But it's called Mozart in the Jungle, I think.
Okay,
right. It's a series, an original series on Amazon, and they just put out their third season or series.
Cool.
And they won all kinds of awards for the series in the last round.
Oh,
so
I'm forever looking for box sets. So that is the way forward. I've got a completely free weekend, so that sounds like an ideal way to.
If you're a binge watcher, check out
very much.
Mozart in the Jungle. I really enjoyed it. I thought it's a wonderful show. Okay,
will do. Thanks for that.
Let's see. Adam Spink, I believe he has something to do with.
Yes, I was reading this earlier.
Air traffic control. Yeah, perhaps you can read this, Captain Nick. It might sound more important with your nice accent.
Okay, well,
I can put my posh BBC voice on if that helps.
Okay, well,
Adam, who is another of those lovely Heathrow air traffic controllers who tries to get me to the front of the queue when he's on duty, and for that I have given him enormous thanks. Said, hey guys, just listening to APG 258, our last show, and specifically the feedback of the recordings of the radar approach into RAF Waddington. It's probably worth knowing that listening to ATC frequencies in the UK is actually illegal according to the Wireless Telegraphy Act. Yes. Let alone someone recording them and posting them online. Hence why live ATC has never featured UK frequencies. The frequencies meant for broadcast, for example, ATIS is okay, but apart from that, it's against UK law. So I had a bit of a chat with Adam on Twitter, and he is technically absolutely right. You're not allowed, in theory, to listen to the air traffic control frequencies. And the problem with putting them online is that then having broadcast them and made the fact that you're listening to them public, you might be opening up a bit of a can of worms there. I think
making yourself liable. Yeah.
Well, exactly right. I think this is probably a law more observed by it's people ignoring it than people obeying it. And I don't know the last time that someone was actually prosecuted. I've never heard of someone being prosecuted. However, the fact is that you don't really want to take the risk, perhaps. So I would just recommend to our listeners not to put any recordings they might make on the internet. It's probably not a brilliant idea. But
very true.
We've all got. I mean, when we've been to air shows and stuff, you've got the I suppose, for want of a better word, the ATC of like the air show and stuff. So that presumably is not illegal for you to sit there with your little hand scanner and
well,
listen.
Apparently, it's certainly not illegal to have a scanner. And on air shows and things, when there are publicly announced frequencies, no, it wouldn't be illegal. Apparently.
Okay.
Now, I'm not an authority. I'm basically quoting what Adam, who was the guy that brought this up, said.
Yeah. Well, and he would know, to be fair. I mean.
Yeah.
So he says, if the air show and they're advertising the fact that the air show frequencies will be this, then you'll be fine. But if you're just going to motor around and listen in on air traffic frequencies, apparently it's not allowed. But my personal opinion is we're being a bit archaic about this. We should get with the rest of the world, and people of great interest. And there's no reason, I don't think, why these things should be hidden from the public.
I think it's educational as well, Nick. As a child, I spent hours and hours at Heathrow Airport when they used to have the viewing gallery there all those years ago, and I spent hours and hours there as a younger child, listening to ATC talking to the pilots like yourselves on the scanner, on my scanner. And I put that down to why the radio telephony part of my PPL came so easy to me, was because I've been used to hearing, your voices, your pilots and the ATC talking, so instinctively what to say and when to say it.
Yeah, well, that's true. I don't think that's necessarily a good reason you can be taught that. But I just think this is a bit of a It's something that is probably never been changed from the time when we were worried about perhaps wartime security and post-war security, Cold War security, about listening to frequencies. So there's probably a bit of a hangover, and I think that the world has moved on since then. But it is in the law, so people should be cautious.
So I'm assuming. Sorry, Jeff.
No, go ahead.
I'm assuming that I'm going to ask you, Jeff. I assume the rules are actually different then in the States. Is it more public domain? Are you allowed to listen to the ATC in the States?
Absolutely. In fact, there's a wonderful website in which I get a lot of our audio clips from, liveatc.net, that is actually a network of people, private citizens, that have their own scanners and devices to upload the live ATC feeds from all over the country.
Wow.
On the internet, freely available for anybody that wants to listen. In fact, a lot of the folks listen to me on live ATC.
I mean, can you hear? Can you see an argument for perhaps why in the UK we still don't make them publicly available? I mean, is there a good reason perhaps why we're sort of hiding our ATC communications?
I believe it's Nick has hit it on the head. I think these are concerns that were important and significant years and years ago that it just hasn't been changed.
Yeah.
By the way, Ken Hoke, I don't know if you heard of this guy. He was a guest on an aviation podcast very recently. Aero Savvy is in the chat room, and he says, I'll have to remember to turn off ATC when I fly over the UK.
If you want a close view of a typhoon, then that's an ideal thing to do.
Yeah,
probably not a good idea. I'm thinking. Hey, well, I always look forward to this part of the show, and that, of course, is this week's installment of Plane Tales.
The old pilot's Plane Tales. The Busby Babes.
Any fatal air disaster is a tragedy for the families and friends of those involved. But when the victims are famous and have many fans who love them, the sadness and feelings of loss radiate out to the public at large. As I write this piece on the 6th of February, it is the anniversary of the Munich air disaster, a crash that tore the heart from the Manchester United football team. But researching this phenomena, I keep coming across more and more similar tragic events. I was going to include such losses to the world as famous musicians who have died in crashes, such as Otis Redding, Ricky Nelson, John Denver, Patsy Cline, Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, just to name a few, but the number is overwhelming and beyond this short segment. Even just mentioning sports teams is difficult to cover them all. So if a flying tragedy has affected you, and I don't mention it specifically, please don't think that it isn't important. I know it will be to you. 6th of February 1958 saw one of the world's best known and loved football teams, soccer to our cousins across the Atlantic, returning from a successful European Cup match in Belgrade. The team were trying to become only the third club to win 3 successive English League titles and had not been beaten in 11 matches. They were nicknamed the Busby Babes after their enormously successful manager, Sir Matt Busby. The flight had stopped in Munich on the way back to Manchester because the distance was just beyond the range of the airspeed ambassador that they were in. The weather there was poor, cold and snowy, but nobody wanted to stay the night. After refueling, Captain Raymond, who was acting as co-pilot that day, started his takeoff run, but he abandoned the attempt when the captain noticed that the port boost pressure gauge for the supercharger was fluctuating and the engine didn't sound steady. The second attempt was also aborted, and they taxied back to the terminal and disembarked everyone whilst they worked the problem. The snag was discussed between the crew and the station engineer, who suggested that the engine was running over rich, causing it to over-accelerate, a known fault with the Elizabethan class of Ambassador. It was recommended that the crew open the throttles very slowly, which would probably overcome the hassle. Whilst this was being discussed, the snow was falling more heavily and a layer of slush was building up on the runway. With their passengers back on board, Raymond taxied out to the runway. He believed that with 6,300 feet, he would have enough length to cope with the slow engine acceleration he would need. As they started their takeoff roll, the aircraft began splashing through the slush. Captain Thane, the commander, was calling the speeds, and at 85 knots, the port engine again began to surge. Raymond reduced power on that side and then advanced the throttle again. At 117 knots, they had reached V1, their last chance to stop safely before the end of the runway. A few more knots and they would be happily in the air, but unexpectedly the speed fell back to 112 knots, then 105. Raymond shouted, "Christ, we won't make it!" and they skidded off the end of the runway. The aircraft careered through the airport fence and across a road before the port wing hit a house and was ripped from the fuselage. Part of the tail was torn away and the cockpit hit a tree, and the right side of the fuselage struck a wooden hut containing a truck filled with tires and fuel, which exploded into flame. With flames licking around the cockpit and trapped by crushed metal, Captain Raymond shouted for the crew to escape. They clambered out of a broken galley window, but Captain Thane returned to the aircraft to grab 2 fire extinguishers and shout to Raymond that he would return once the fire had retreated. Captain Raymond was rescued, but died later in hospital of his wounds. The impact of the crash and subsequent fire took its toll amongst the crew and passengers. 8 players and 3 staff, including the chief coach and trainer, were killed. In addition, 8 journalists from all the major UK papers died. 21 survived, including Bobby Charlton, who would continue a wonderfully successful career and, with his brother Jack, would be part of the England World Cup team, winning in 1966. He would be knighted in 1994. So Bobby's survival was mainly due to the heroic actions of the team goalkeeper, Harry Gregg, who, despite a severe head wound, returned again and again to the wreckage to drag out survivors. The German authorities put the blame on the accident squarely on the actions of Captain Thane, accusing him, despite evidence to the contrary, of taking off with ice on his wings. He was dismissed by his company, British European Airways, and never re-engaged, despite being exonerated a few years later. The cause was eventually identified as the effect of slush on an aircraft with tricycle undercarriage, which was at the time unknown. Unlike the more common tail-wheeled aircraft of the period, an aircraft with a nose wheel has its main wheels behind the center of gravity, which makes them more vulnerable to the drag that slush creates. Flying tragedies seem to affect football teams more than any others. The Superga air disaster of 1949 killed the entire Grande Torino team, almost all of the Italian national team. The 3-engined Fiat G212 slammed into the side of the Basilica Superga whilst on a bad weather approach to Turin Airport. All 31 on board died. 1960 saw a Dragon Rapide crash 50 meters from the shore after taking off from Copenhagen Airport in severe weather. 8 association players who were flying to a selection match for the Danish squad were killed. The Colourful 11 were a Surinamese exhibition football team on a DC-8 out of Schiphol bound for Johan Adolf Pengel International Airport in Suriname. In the aircraft, operated by the national carrier, were a total of 178 passengers. The captain, knowing that the ILS was not available for operational use, insisted on using it despite being cleared for a VOR DME approach. His first officer commented that he didn't trust the ILS readings, but despite receiving several oral and visual warnings, the captain descended below his minima without visual contact and crashed into a tree. The investigation also revealed that the captain was over the maximum permitted age and wasn't even checked out or approved to fly the DC-8. The 1987 Alianza Lima football team air disaster led to the death of 43 players, staff, cheerleaders and crew whilst attempting to land at Callao in Peru. F-27 Friendship was chartered from the Peruvian Navy since the civil airlines were considered too risky to use. The aircraft approached the runway, an undercarriage fault required Lieutenant Villa and First Lieutenant Cesar Morales to circle the field. After a flypast which confirmed that his gear was down, in failing light, the pilots lost control and struck the ocean whilst positioning for a landing. Morales was the only survivor. The aftermath of the crash was a tragedy on its own. Masses flocked to the beaches to mourn as corpses were recovered. There were many memorials and public mournings. The Peruvian Navy conducted the inquiry and refused to release any statements regarding its findings. However, a copy of the file was illegally secreted away in the US by the president of the inquiry. It remained locked in a Florida bank vault for 19 years, but when made public, revealed that the pilot, Lieutenant Villa, had only 3.3 hours of night flying in the previous 60 days, and his co-pilot, First Lieutenant Morales, only 30 minutes. The aircraft was in very poor mechanical condition, and Villa had initially refused to fly it. During their handling of the undercarriage fault, the co-pilot's poor English caused him to misread the emergency checklist, and what was more, he had never received flight training from FOCA. Finally, Villar had recently failed a training course, which could have prevented disorientation whilst operating under pressure. There was also the possibility that the aircraft just ran out of fuel due to the delay in making its final approach. 1993 saw the tragic demise of almost the entire Zambian national football team when the de Havilland Canada Buffalo they were flying in crashed into the Atlantic shortly after taking off from Libreville in Gabon. The aircraft already had a history of engine faults, but when the left engine caught fire and failed, the pilot shut down the right engine in error, killing all on board. Of course, more recently, Lamia Flight 2933, a chartered Avro RJ-85, crashed in Colombia in November last year, killing 71 of the 77 people on board, 19 of whom were players in the Chapecoense football squad. Other sports have suffered. In 1961, the entire United States figure skating team on its way to the World Championships in Prague were killed when their Sabina Boeing 707 crashed on approach to Brussels Airport. Going around from their first approach because of a blocked runway, the pilots climbed and circled towards another runway. As it turned, it overbanked and spiraled into the ground. The cause was never completely established, but thought to be due to a failure of the stabilizer trim mechanism. This was the first ever fatal accident involving a 707 in regular passenger service. The Marshall University American football team, the Thundering Herd, lost 38 of their members when their DC-9 hit pine trees and crashed into a mountainside. Specially chartered for the game, the team were on their way home to the Huntington Tri-State Airport in North Carolina. The Southern Airways aircraft was on its approach in poor weather, giving us rain, fog, smoke, and a ragged ceiling. The crew descended to their minima at the outer marker, but then, for reasons unknown, continued to descend for another 300 feet into the treetops on a hillside a mile short of the runway. All 75 on board perished. Finally, I should mention the Old Christians Rugby Club, whose Uruguayan Air Force chartered Fairchild FH-227 crashed into a remote area of the Andes mountain range. That remarkable story of survival will have a plain tale all of its own.
That was so uplifting. Thank you.
Well, I think the answer is... I think the answer is don't play football.
Okay.
Because we've had one not that long ago, haven't we? We've had one quite recently with that Brazilian football team, weren't they? They were going to a cup match or something.
Yeah, that was just criminal. I
So
mean, literally.
you weren't listening because I did actually mention that.
Yeah, I heard you say the Champagnese or whatever. Wow, I was impressed with the way you pronounced that.
Thank you.
I tell you, after this show tonight, Matt is just going to go away and think, "Oh, I can't wait to get on that aircraft and go to Pittsburgh."
I know, I really can't wait. I am literally beside myself with excitement. I really am.
Exactly right. Well, I tell you what, just make sure there isn't a football team on the aircraft with you.
Right. Okay. How does one gain an itinerary of who's flying before?
Well, like,
before you book?
there's 100 blokes all wearing a strip.
Right. Okay.
Turn
Just
right around.
turn around and get off it.
Book another flight. Yeah.
This also helps, Matt.
Gin and tonic for me, I'm afraid.
Well, you just use your imagination.
Okay.
I do.
No, I didn't realize. I didn't realize you couldn't choose.
Hey, thanks again, Nick, for that wonderful plane tales.
Yes, Nick.
Such a wonderful.
Well,
I'm so happy.
As many of requests to cover the Munich air disaster, but it's quite a short story, relatively speaking. But once you start looking into these things, you go, "Wow, there seems to be a huge number of these teams." But of course, I suppose an air disaster, yeah, that's fine, but it becomes significant when there's a whole bunch of people with the same background, a whole bunch of, in this case, an entire football team all on the same airplane, as they're quite likely to be. So,
well, and of course, the Busby Babes was one that people still talk about now. People haven't got over it, have they? I don't think people will ever get over it, because it was, as far as football in this, or soccer as they call it in the States, is concerned, they were the brightest stars, weren't they? They were the biggest team.
Oh, absolutely, and they had such potential because they were such young players.
Yeah. Very sad.
Actually, Nick, I meant to say to you, Nick, and thank you for covering the Eastern 401 crash on one of your plane tales a few weeks back. That was very, very kind of you to do that one. That was made for very interesting listening.
Oh, glad you enjoyed it. Yeah.
Hey,
that was the L1011, the Everglades. Yeah.
Yes,
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another fascinating. Great lessons to be learned from all of these, which is another reason why I don't do these just to bring back bad memories, but they usually have lessons involved.
There's a lesson involved. Yeah. It's a little bit of both, actually.
Yeah.
Hey, we have some Twitter video feedback. Never done this one before. And it's from the other side of the world, from where I am, at least, in the Southern Hemisphere. By two gentlemen who were meeting up together and enjoying a beer or two. I'm not sure how many. But we're going to try to put this on the screen, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to hear them as well. So let's give this a shot.
I was supposed to take this guy for a fly on the weekend, but I kind of forgot that my BFR had expired. And I might have done something that's a bit naughty. So I can't take it for flying, but I'm going to have to do lots of practice now. So, sorry, Glenn.
That's all right. Hello, you are. I'll forgive you. Anyway, it's nice to meet Lucas.
Okay, we're going to try this again. I had some looping going on there because I didn't have my mixer set up exactly right, but now you're going to be able to hear this a little bit better.
Not getting anything here, Jeff.
No, nothing here. Jeff?
Oh, you're not hearing it?
No.
No.
Okay, I still don't have it right then. Okay, so
Deja vu, Matt. Deja vu this is.
Oh, man.
I don't know what you mean.
Not deja vu again.
Dang it. Let's see. How can I do this so you can hear this without any echoing, and you can actually hear it? Let me take the audio input from this device.
Are you having problems with your IT? Then call Matt Tech.
No, we really do need Dev Tech here. This is he is the man when it comes to that. I just make it up as I go along every week.
Let's see here. Let me try this. No, that's not going to work. Hang on. Yeah, just so many wires and cables and stuff. No, that's not going to reach. All right. So.
Myself and Nev need to introduce you to the world of NDI communication, Jeff.
What is that?
It's network communication. Oh,
wow.
Hello.
Huge echo.
Echo.
Isn't that nice?
It is. It's
Sunday.
Carlos has got the
I like this.
Yes.
This is your captain speaking. Okay, let's see if you can hear this.
I was supposed to take this guy for a fly on the weekend, but I kind of forgot that my BFR had expired, and I might have done something that's a bit naughty. So I can't take him for a fly, but I'm going to have to do lots of practice now. So sorry, Glenn.
That's all right. Oh, there you are. I'll forgive you. Anyway, it's nice to meet Lucas at last. Getting so much of his feedback on APG, and it's just cheers. We're both enjoying a good New Zealand IPA.
It's a lovely IPA.
And we'll hope to see you in Oslo.
And I won't, because I'm too poor. Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you, Glenn. And,
Nice.
and it wasn't perfect, but close enough. Okay. Yeah.
Did you make that noise at me?
Yes, that was a bleep.
I was gonna say-
Aimed at you.
I beg your pardon.
Okay.
That's terrible gas. Terrible gas.
I'll figure out exactly what I was doing wrong after we finish all this. But anyway, it was an attempt.
If it's any consolation, Jeff, I very much feel your pain.
It's like you're looking at things going like, why? Why is it doing that?
Yeah. Do you know what's really nice is I'm sat here just with a microphone in front of me, and it's not my worry.
That's right.
I love
Don't have to worry about it. It's not my fault, really.
Yes, for a change, it's not my fault.
Anyway, so thank you, Glenn and Lucas Diamond, Glenn Towler and Lucas Diamond, for getting together and recording that and sending that in to us. So
that we could mess it up completely.
Yeah, so I can.
Hey, come on! When it goes out in the podcast, it'll be completely seamless.
That's
Nobody
right.
will have any of it.
It'll be nice and clean when you actually listen to the audio.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Too right.
Okay. Yes. We know. Don't we,
I'm a
Matt? We know.
gynecologist.
Yeah. You're a what now?
Trust me, I'm a gynecologist.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm allowed to put my hand there.
Oh, stop it! Lovely show. Honestly.
Hey, shall we end the show with a kind of a technical question that might be enlightening for certain folks, regarding.
Depends how quickly we want to put them to sleep.
Yeah, well, it's getting to be that time of night that everybody needs to be asleep. So this might be helpful.
Perfect.
It's
Okay.
only 10 to 1. I mean, it's fine.
Wow, you guys are troopers. Thank you. Okay, here we go. This is from Paul.
Hello, APG crew. This is Paul, your Newark-based aircraft technician for Golden Globe Airlines. Now, I understand the great amount of feedback you receive, and just in case this is backlogged, happy 4th of July. This question is a little out of my wheelhouse, as I work in the power plant division, and I think it will best be answered by the jet transport side of the panel. I was taxiing an aircraft the other day, and it brought up a thought in my head. On landing with the auto brakes armed, as the aircraft touches down, is there any physical movement on the pedals as auto brake is applied? And what is the transition between auto braking and manual braking, where it allows the pilot to gradually take over? Now, I'm certain that super spaceship Airbus A340 has auto braking capability, boing. But I'm also assuming the Mad Dog has some sort of auto braking system, even if it's a little trap door where Captain Jeff sticks his feet out. Clear skies and safe travels from Newark, New Jersey.
That is funny.
Yeah. We have to start calling you Fred, as in Fred Flintstone.
Fred Flintstone, yes. No, that was good. Thank you, Paul, for your feedback. Now, auto brakes. The only thing I'm going to say is to answer that first part of your question, when the auto brake system is actually applying the brakes, at least in every airplane that I've flown that has auto braking systems, the actual brake pedals do not activate. I mean, you can't, there's no motion there. It's disconnected from the actual brake pedals. But is that the way it is on the Airbus, Nick?
Yeah, that's right, Jeff. There's no feedback through to the pedals. The pressure gets to the brakes through a separate system.
Mm-hmm.
So on the 330, in order to set up the auto brakes, you need green hydraulic pressure, which is this kind of primary hydraulic system. The anti-skid needs to be powered. No failures on board. You need at least 2 primary flight control computers and 1 air data inertial reference unit. Now, the ADARU is there because the accelerometers in the inertial reference unit are the ones that measure the deceleration rate and make sure that the auto brake comes on at the correct pressure to achieve that deceleration rate. So the auto brakes don't give just say a set pressure. They actually, in the Airbus, they give you a rate of deceleration. So if you use a lot of thrust reverse, the braking will be very light. If you don't use any, then the braking will come on a little harder so that you slow down at a certain rate. And to activate the auto brakes, they will come on once you've pre-selected them. They will come on ground spoiler extension. So basically, when both main gear are down, the ground spoilers come up and the auto brakes come on. And if you only get one wheel down, then so long as you've got a reverser selected, they will also come on. And what generally happens then is you get the second gear going down, so they'll definitely come on. Now, to disengage them, you can just reach over and press the button if you want to. If any of the arming conditions fail, then they will disengage. But you don't actually apply any pressure to the brake pedals whilst the auto brakes are on, because if you do, as soon as you apply any pressure to either brake pedal, you manually then take over braking and the auto brakes kick out. And it doesn't take a lot of pressure. In fact, it's quite common for guys who are doing a bit of a crosswind landing, when they're feeding in a bit of rudder to straighten up the aircraft, they'll accidentally apply a little pressure onto the brake as well as just straightening the aircraft using the rudder pedals. And that will kick off the auto brakes. And then it's up to the pilot monitoring to tell them, because they'll often then sit trolling down the runway with nobody braking because they think the auto brake's there and the auto brake is actually turned off. So that's where the pilot monitoring steps in and goes, manual brakes, to remind him that the system.
Yeah, it's not slowing down at all.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Yes, I wonder how big a runway we're going to need today.
Very big.
Yeah. So that's how the auto brake system works. And yeah, no feedback. And to start using the manual brakes, you just start applying them, and that automatically kicks off the other brakes, and you don't need to put very much pressure on at all.
Yep. Same goes with the Mad Dog. So
all of that. That's very clever.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's some like differences in the parameters and the speeds and that kind of thing, but essentially it's the same kind of system. Well, absolutely. Except for the trapdoor and the feet and the.
That's right. They give you new shoes every few trips.
I must say, most people are very, very mean about your Mad Dog, Jeff. They really are quite horrible to you.
That's okay. I was actually kind of mean to it as well before I flew it, and then. And then it took me a while of flying it to kind of start appreciating it. So I do. I'm glad that I got a chance to fly it. I wasn't very happy about it to begin with, but it's an honest airplane. So
I have to ask the question. I mean, Acme, presumably, like other carriers, are probably going to look into sort of replacing it and taking it out of service, I assume. I mean, are you looking forward to the challenge?
It's already advanced, or it's already been announced that we are retiring our MD-88 fleet, and that should all be finished in, they say, about 3 years. And
are you looking to be? Are you looking forward to being type rated on something else? Or
yeah, I think I have one school left in me, and I think I'm gonna.
It's in Toulouse.
Yeah, no, it's not in. It's more like Seattle. But actually, it's actually in Atlanta. That's where all our schools are, and I'll be hopefully flying the 7576 76ER series.
Oh wow!
So that'll be my.
You must be a little excited about that.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm not excited about going to school and learning all this new stuff and going through tests and check rides and everything else. But that's all part of what we do. So, but in the meantime, I'm going to enjoy flying this for as long as I can, and then when I have decent seniority on that other category, I'll jump to that, and then just try to do that until I retire in a little under 7 years. So that's my plan.
You could always do what people in the UK have started doing a lot just lately, Jeff, with all the Royal Air Force different things like the helicopters and the aircraft they're retiring. Some people are buying these helicopter, especially there was a Sea King we covered on one of our shows previous last year, I think it was, and the family had brought this Sea King helicopter and turned it into a holiday home. So I suppose you could, Jeff, you could buy one of the ex-Acme Mad Dogs.
Let me tell you, Carlos,
to a caravan.
Doing the aviation podcast thing is trying enough on my home life here. I think that would just put it way over the top.
Yeah, it may be one step too far. Yeah,
way too far.
You want a holiday home that leaks?
That's true. No, I have to say you're dead on. Those windows are horrible. Anyway, let's end this with a nice little piece of feedback from Ben and Jackson. They're up in Milwaukee, and he said that his son and I. Or my son and I enjoy listening to your episodes as we commute to school and work. We started listening last year and are trying to catch up and keep up, but life keeps getting in the way, as well as not a very long commute. If you could just hold off on making new episodes for a few weeks so we can catch up, that would be great. Okay, we'll have to do that then. We'll be back in March. No, I'm just kidding. We'll just have to do our best to keep listening as much as we can. I obtained my private pilot's certificate when I was in high school, dreamed of becoming a professional pilot, but life seemed to have happened, and that didn't come to fruition. I just enjoy GA for now and then, and live the professional life vicariously through you guys and gal. I don't have much of a question for now. Just wanted to introduce ourselves. I do, however, want to invite any of you, anytime you're in the Milwaukee area, to come enjoy a Brewers baseball game. I can arrange your tickets. Just tell Captain Nick that it's like cricket, only shorter and without any tea.
I've been to a baseball match, and it took forever, but we did have beer. So
there you go. But if there's no tea, why would you not? Why would you want to go? I don't understand.
I don't
have beer.
You can have
peanuts and popcorn and hot dogs.
You've got to have tea. Tea and cucumber sandwiches are the way forward. I'm telling you.
You're not going to see those at a baseball game here in the U.S. Maybe if you go to Oshkosh this year, the crew could take a field trip down to Milwaukee and catch a game. like looks like the Cubs are in town that week.
Oh, I've seen the Cubs play. They got thrashed by the Giants.
Yeah, well, the Cubs actually won the World Series this year, so they did all right.
Oh, yeah, they did, didn't they?
Yeah. This year, the stadium went under a major renovation of the concessions, so there's a new look and a wide variety of new food to choose from. But what I think it would be most important to you guys is the new Local Brews bar that features 30 taps of various Wisconsin craft beers.
Now we are talking.
Yes. Now he gave us a URL for us to click upon and see the variety of beers that are available at the new park. But if the Cubs or craft beer can't tear you away from AirVenture for a day, I'll just have to hope you might pass through town some other time for a game or even a general aviation flight. I think that's about it for now, so keep the episodes coming, and we'll keep playing catch-up. We'll try to get to Oshkosh every year, so we'll be on the lookout for you if you make it. Take care, and blue skies. Ben and Jackson Harned, I believe.
What a lovely, lovely message.
Yeah. Yes. I'm glad you're out there listening, you and your son. And let's see, I'm assuming, well, I'm not sure which one's the son and which one's the father, but Ben and Jackson, hello from all of us at the APG. We're happy to have you listening. And with that, I think it's time to end the show. We've been here for getting close to 3 hours, and thanks again, Matt and Carlos, for joining us. I know it's super late over there. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. And
all right, I have no life. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't either.
Well, it's all Carlos's fault for not knowing how to turn his computer on.
Yeah.
Well, there is that.
We're not going to talk about that. And, anyway, so again. Let's hear from Matt and Carlos and their fantastic show. Tell us how we can listen to your show and take part in it and send feedback and follow you guys on Twitter and all that. You're up.
So if you want to take yourselves over to, thank you, Jeff. If you want to take yourselves over to the interweb and just look up Plane Talking UK, you'll find our website there, www.planetalkinguk.com. You can also find us on Twitter at Plane Talking UK. We're also on Facebook. Look us up on Facebook and you'll find the links there. We post the links there which go through to Twitter as well for the live show each week, which we tend to do on a Friday evening around 7 p.m. UK time. And yeah, like I said, if you want to contact us at the show, which we love to get feedback. We've had some great feedback in the last few weeks from some of the listeners. You can email us at podcast@planetalkinguk.com.
Very good. And Matt, anything you'd like to say before we end the show?
No, I'm delighted he's finally learned all the correct terms and the URLs. No, I'm very proud of him. Yes.
He's like astonished. He's
speechless. I am,
he doesn't know what to say.
I'm glad I was sat down. Let's put it that way.
So anyway, again, I think most everybody listening to our APG show are also listeners of the PT UK. And if you're one of those oddballs out there that haven't yet listened to Plane Talking UK, you owe it to yourself to do so. So highly recommend.
You're too kind, Jeff. You're too kind.
No, I'm serious.
May I recommend episode 150? There is a certain APG representative who may or may not have appeared on that particular show.
They've heard enough of me, man.
Jeff, we can never hear too much of you.
Right.
No.
All right. And Nick, thanks again for hanging in there. I know it's late for you as well, at the same time, actually, that it is for Matt and Carlos. And I'm glad that you didn't get called out on a trip and you were able to be here for the whole show. And I'm sure that Steph is sad that she couldn't be here with us the whole time as well. And Dana says hi as well. He was flying today, doing a turn to Denver and then back to Atlanta. And he just wasn't available for today's show, but he'll be back again probably on the next episode. So if you want to learn more about the show, if you already didn't have enough of it, you can go over to airlinepilotguy.com, and there you'll find information about the crew, the community, the coffee fund, all that stuff. And it's a great resource for finding different ways to listen and watch the show. We have those apps, and I promise I'm going to try to iron out the push notifications for the iOS platform soon. And let's see, social media. Normally we have our social media expert, Dr. Steph, give you that information. But Nick, you want to give a shot at the social media?
Twitter is at APG Crew, and Facebook is Airline Pilot Guy. So I think that's about it, really.
Yeah, and then we also have a Slack account there, and Hillel is the guy that manages that, and you can contact him via Twitter at HI11E1, and there he'll give you information about how you can join us on our Slack account. And that is about it. Thanks, everybody, for listening, watching, being loyal members of our community for so long, and we do appreciate it. And until next time, wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care. God bless.
All the best, everybody.
Woohoo!
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. We're
Hello.
going now. We're gone.
Okay. Really? Leave.
Really
It's
gone.
over. There's nothing to see here anymore. Go.
There's been nothing to see here for the last 3 hours, to be fair.
That's true.
Well, you guys, I don't know how you lasted 5 hours. I mean, there are people in the chat room who stuck through the whole 9 yards as well. Yeah,
It's an aviation
all right.
podcast.
I'll tell you what, our hardcore listeners, and I think I speak for both shows when I say this, are just the most amazing people. They really are.
They are. A special shout out to Ding. I called him JJ, but those must be some kind of kanji or something that is describing his name.
It's something to do with the Western European translation, isn't it? Where the symbols don't come across properly in Twitter. And
Probably
things.
so, yeah. So glad to have you there. I believe he's from China. And
Wow.
Mike Kuipers, hello. I hope you're feeling better, Mike, and thanks for joining us.
Gemma's going to wonder where the hell I've been when I go upstairs.
Let's see.
dear.
Jeff, did you get the Wings Over Pittsburgh link for the show notes? Is it in
Yeah,
your?
it's a bit earlier in the. I'll find it for you and I'll stick it in a message to you.
Okay, thank you. I did not see that. Yeah, that was a great interview. Thank you, Micah, with Captain Rick Bell. And if Rick is, I don't know if he's here today with us or not, but
We'll be meeting Rick Bell next year, won't we? Yeah. I
Absolutely.
mean, this year.
No,
this
this
year,
year.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, this is 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, scary.
I should hopefully book my flights in. I'll book my flights in April.
Yeah,
for
no one knew that
Pittsburgh.
soon. Yeah.
I noticed they're coming down all the time, actually, Carlos, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean,
They're down to about 400 now, aren't they?
No, not that. God, not that cheap. The flights have come down to about 6.5, 700 quid return with Virgin and Delta, who code share. The BA flights are. You don't want to know how much the BA flights are. They're
Virgin and Delta. You don't want to fly with those airlines.
They're the best. I had a lovely flight back from Vegas this time last year. My God, it was a year ago. We were in Vegas. Yeah, back on a Delta 767-400, back from Minneapolis back to Heathrow. So
excellent. Thank you, Micah. I got it.
Yeah, Jennifer, we can't wait to meet you either when we get to Pittsburgh. I really can't wait. It's going to be so much fun.
No, Matt, I've met her. You know, it's yeah. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Just joking, Jen.
Oh, he's so
Love
honestly,
you.
it's marvelous, isn't it? You think, yeah, Captain Jeff, he's this lovely, quiet, sort of, very, very unassuming human being, and then every now and again he just surprises you with terrible
the reason why I ended up diverting to Flint was because I just didn't want to see Jen in
That's awful.
I'm just kidding, of course.
That is also not true. Yeah. Oh no.
Anyway, so yeah, she says, "Love you too, Jeff."
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, thanks again, Matt and Carlos, for joining us. That was a lot of fun.
Pleasure. Next time we'll have
really nice.
to. I say we had it all set up so that it was like one feed from us, because I've worked out a way with our broadcast tower that I go on about all the time, where we can actually push a feed from us to you from the broadcast tower. So I could have switched between cameras and put websites.
Right. I was going to tell you that if you ever wanted to switch to Hangouts, you could do that with that kind of setup where you could do multiple cameras and everything else.
Yeah, but they couldn't wait 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Sad, isn't it?
I was busy doing some stuff in the background, and then when I saw what you had said, I went, "Oh!" And then I sent a tweet to you, and then it was too late, I guess.
I was traveling,
and I'd just like, I'd just like to point out that during the show this evening, I've been on to Amazon and ordered myself a USB microphone, so I don't have to use this hideous
It actually sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Really?
A little bit. There's just a little bit of a side tone or some kind of a weird noise going on with your.
There's what I refer to as no bottom end.
That'll be arriving here on Sunday. That's the beauty of Amazon. Ordered today, and it'll be here Sunday.
Oh, very good.
Deliveries, they are the way forward. Yeah.
Now you could have got a combined one. Then you could have done both with it.
Yeah, I would have recommended the ATR. That's both XLR and USB. Or you have one, the one that's the phallic device in so many of the graphics.
I've got the blue. Yes.
Yeah.
Is that the one he never has the right way round? Is
Yes,
I do now, because everyone's told me like a million times which way around I have it.
Yeah.
But to be fair, you can have it either way around. It depends how you set it up.
How you do the
I
switch.
just left it to the expert who let me down dreadfully.
Yeah. What can you say? What can I say? You just can't get the staff, Nick. That's the trouble, you see.
Well, not for long. No, you have to keep firing them.
Liz asked, will Nick ever get called? Well, Liz, there's a reason why they're not calling him.
Yeah, and I'm very happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just sitting home taking the money.
Yeah, many years of being highly cantankerous have finally got him to a position where he doesn't get called out.
Exactly.
Finally worked. Yeah. All right. Well, again, everybody, thanks for joining us, especially all of those diehards in the chat room for hanging out the last 5 hours or whatever.
8 years or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about that. Yeah.
So anyway, we appreciate you, really do. So thank you for that. It's always a big shot in the arm for all of us podcasters to know that the community is out there supporting us so much.
Yeah, I love the chat for that, isn't it? It's great, as you say, because you get on the fly feedback, then, don't you, from the story that you're reading out. And I say so many times the people in the chat room have come up with something that I wouldn't have even thought about in a million years, and you can just throw it in on the fly. It's great.
And Ken, AeroSavvy, nice job on the PTUK.
Great interview, Ken. Thank you. Yeah.
Enjoyed Japan.
Very good.
It's one of the worst. One of the destinations I miss most because of the ramen bashi noodle house we always used to go to for hot chili noodle soup with extra smoked chicken.
Stop talking food,
and
Nick.
A cold.
Where is that? Is that near the airport?
It's Narita town, which isn't that far from the airport. It's like 10 minutes.
Wow.
Awesome. Well, with that, I'm going to go get something to eat, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
thanks.
Yeah. I think bed is the way forward. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to stop the broadcast. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Good night.
Cheers.
Have a
Good
great
night.
week.